because we usually give people, a bit of time to, a bit of time to join in, trickle in. So yeah, just a heads up there. Let me think. What are we doing on this front? Okay, and then let me change the title. We'll do. Okay, there we go. Let me go ping the server. What role are we doing? Server events. Okay. Alrighty. And where is my thing? Here it is. Eh. Okay, right. All right. Just to remind myself, this is going to be this is for the E4 level, right? Like intermediate.
Yeah, product design,
Okay.
architect.
Do you have experience at this level already, or are you trying to up level while switching?
Kind of trying to up level.
Okay, I see. Okay, then I'll adjust the difficulty a bit. All right. Anyways, I mean, let's just get right into it then. Um, so I mean, this is your classic Sunday installment of mock interviews. Today we have a guest from the TCN server. Do you want to give a quick introduction about yourself?
I am Admiral Penguin, and I've had like about 4 years of experience. I currently work at a Fang, a large social media company, in particular. So I work mostly full stack with a larger emphasis on front end, but I also do some back end stuff. And so that's kind of a general introduction of
Cool.
me.
Yeah, sounds good. Um, then let's just get right into it then. So you're in the Scala draw, right? Okay, sounds
Yeah.
good. Today's problem we'll be working on specifically designing a social media platform where the focus is on making friends. Okay. So
Okay.
the spec for today that we want to make is we want to make like you can think of it as Facebook, but I'm not using that terminology. Okay, we're gonna design a platform and just gonna have a lot of features, but we won't care about those features. But the feature we care about is the ability for users to add each other as friends. Okay, so you have to be able to. So
Okay.
there's user can add each other as friends. They have to find each other. It's like a search functionality. Okay, so to find friends and you can
Yeah.
add them. And so there's two ways to find friends. One way to find friends is by just directly searching their ID or name. For the purpose of this, I guess we can assume that names are unique. Okay, so you can search
Yeah.
names directly into the search bar or whatever. And the other way to find friends is by going to your existing friends and seeing what friends they have, and navigating from there.
Okay. So so the key thing we're focusing on is finding friends. So basically, large social media, find friends. So we want to basically mostly focus on finding friends, not newsfear or anything like that. So that's kind of what we have here. So let's kind of dive into requirements, and I'll kind of lower the ambiguity of this question. So let's see requirements. So let's say these are functional requirements there. So we're kind of looking for here is we're looking for so we want to be able to find friends. Okay.
Yep.
So this is more so like a search. And then so now going into that a little bit further is we said find friends here, but let's say large social media friends. So we want to add friends, right?
Yeah. So you have find friends, add friends, right? And then one more thing I didn't mention earlier,
Yeah,
but is also gonna be part of the spec, is between friends or
yeah,
between any two people, which is typically yourself and someone else. Do you want to see if any mutual friends?
yeah. So we want to find friends, add friends, and then let's just say delete friends,
Sure.
and let's say mutual friends as well. So basically, the emphasis kind of here is all about friends. So kind of looking at this. So that's kind of what we have for our functional requirements: find friends, add friends, delete friends, mutual friends. So that's kind of what I'm seeing for functional requirements in this particular case. So that's kind of what we have, and let's kind of dive into non-functional requirements
Mm-hmm.
right here. So let's see. non-functional requirements. So these are kind of more so requirements that are in regards to finding friends. So in the terms of how fast do we want to find friends in terms of latency, like as in terms of mutual friends. So for that, I'm kind of I don't really want to dive into like napkin calculations right
Okay.
now. So I'm gonna kind of hold off that. So I'll just say I say fast latency, find friends, find mutual friends. So this is more so like, hey, you have friends between one another. Like you want to click on it, you want to have that page load pretty fast. You don't want to wait like 2 minutes, 3 minutes for the page to
Okay.
load. So let's say find fast latency to find mutual friends. And then after this, another thing we probably want to do is we want to we want to add friends. So we want to have friend requests sent also with low latency as well. That I would probably think of, or more so. I probably won't get into it for what I'll also put in out of scope, and I'm just kind of thinking of right now is I would say this just came to
Hmm.
mind, so I'll just say
Okay.
block friends. So this is or it's block users, block friends slash users. So I don't want to kind of deal with this kind of security logic. So we'll kind of put that as scope. Fast latency, find mutual friends. Another thing we probably want is also as a non-functional requirement, I would say region based. I would say names are all unique, right? And you can also existing friends, but I would say you would say that if you're in, let's say, Vancouver or Toronto, the chances are you have a friend that's closer in that region, right? Versus, let's say, someone that's further away in like London or something, right? So let's just say a non-functional is, let's give it a higher priority on a region. So let's kind of say that as well. So this just to kind of say like, hey, it's more likely that you have a friend that's close to you in close proximity versus further away. So the last one for non-functional requirements, what I'm thinking of is, so for delete, add, mutual. Let's kind of say, what else do we have here? So add, delete, mutual. So that's kind of more. So we want to have the ability to accept and decline, and then also non-functional requirement. Also, we want to have uh, non-repeats. So non-repeats friend requests. So this is more so like, hey, like if you send me a friend request and I
Hmm.
declined it, and then you keep on sending me a friend request over and over again. And out of scope will also keep spam and bots out of scope as
Okay.
well. So let's say like bots can kind of circumvent with using different IPs or something. We'll kind of keep that out of scope, right? So this is kind of what we're seeing for functional, non-functional requirements. So let's kind of get into our core entities of kind of what kind of core things we'll have, we'll particularly focus on, right? So for core entities, we have friends. But the thing is, friends is also a relation between two users. So what we'll actually say is that one of our core entities is users, right? So one of our core entities will be users
Okay.
themselves. So then users will have a one-to-many relationship with friends, and a one-to-many sort of like that. But they can also have many-to-one as friends as well. So let's say you have users, and let's say another thing we'll have is, let's say for users we'll kind of get into the API a little bit later and the kind of the breakdown for the database when we do the high level design. But outside of users, we'll also have I'm thinking more so, I'm not sure whether it should be region or, let's say we'll make a list of friends as well. We'll make a separate kind of a list of friends that maps to users that kind of goes like that. This is more so to help with mutual friends, because for mutual friends, we kind of want to probably use a graph that you have degrees of
Hmm.
connection. And with using those degrees of connection, you have a lot faster lookup to find mutual friends. So that's kind of how you do a friend structure.
Okay.
So user is friends. A last core entity we'd probably add here is, let's just say, uh, after friends, we'll just say, uh, off. Let's say so the thing is, we don't have to deal with follows, so let's also put that out of scope, because in Facebook and a few others in Meta, you can follow and you can follow and not be friends, right? So or you can also be friends, or you can have a two-way or one-way a bi-directional or a single directional relationship. So we'll get rid of that as well. Users, friends. So I was trying to think of the last kind of core entity. Let's say one of the things we said is non-repeat friend requests. So what we'll kind of add here is we'll say, uh, let's just say canceled friends. This is kind of just to kind of match with. I know this is kind of off as a core entity, but this is more so to kind of for not third non-functional requirement, which is non-repeat friend requests. I want to keep canceled friends a little bit separately. Is more so like you can't spam someone with friend requests after they've already declined, right?
Yeah.
Because chances are if they've declined, they're not going to change their mind in a minute to accept you again, right? So maybe it might be like a thing in a week or something like that. So this is kind of what we're looking at, and now we'll kind of get into kind of our API, right? So let's just say API
So
requirements.
one thing I wanted to just ask before we move on,
Yeah.
of these features that you've talked about here, which ones are you planning to implement all of them?
Find friends, add friends, delete friends, mutual friends. I do plan on
Okay,
implementing
and the
all of them.
non-functional requirements, what's your priority there?
So my priority there is more so to focus on mutual friends, and then also obviously a higher priority on region. That's more so with our when you find friends based on your name. Let's say you don't type in the name. You said the names will be unique, so we don't have to deal with clashing names. So we could deal with clashing names as well because we'd have that ID as well. But in your case, you made that a little bit simpler, so we don't have to deal with that. So, but I'd still use sort of like a regional thing where like if you have a name tokenized, you want to kind of focus on hey, like this name matches a lot closer with this region, right? Let's say you have the name Sam, and then Sam matches with Sam, Samuel, Samson, and a few others. And but like, hey, like Samuel is the closest one to your region. Chances are there's a high likelihood that someone in close proximity to you is your friend that you're kind of looking for on that search in particular. Because let's say, for example, this in a small scenario where you have a small subset of users, it's fine to not use kind of region and other things to help your friend search algorithm. But in when you have large users, like a billion plus or so, you want to make sure that the accuracy of the search is a lot closer relative to what you're kind of looking for.
Okay, we can consider that, but make that a last priority.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, so this is kind of what I'm looking at for these. So it's trying to get into like API requirements. So we'll just have our API. So in this case, obviously you have a core, you can do server send events, you can use REST, you can use WebSocket, but since we don't care about having a bidirectional relationship, the kind of thing what we're really looking for right now is for the API, let's just use REST, right? So and then obviously what we're gonna do is for the header, one thing we want to make sure is we want to use JWT. So you have obviously with JWT you can encrypt it. It can be good, or you can just use the header, right? So this is mostly because if we are sending stuff over, we don't want to be passing in the user ID through the actual API itself. For the very fact that if someone else could maliciously change that user ID and get you to accept a friend request on their behalf, right? So we don't really want that. So that's why for the header we use JWT, or we'll just use so there's just say request rather than header. We'll just use JWT or the header itself, and we'll pass in the user ID. So the header could be kind of a session token, right? So and then that's validated and stuff like that, and you read the JWT. So then now to kind of get into our APIs. So obviously we want to find friends, add friends, delete, and mutual. So obviously with the add, we'll do a post, right? And then for the post, we want to kind of do here is I would say post um, friends, add friend, and then let's just say we do the ID, right? So add friend and ID of the friend you want to add, right? So the header is going to be the same for all of these, and then kind of breaking it down, we'll just kind of have, hey, like uh, friend ID or to friend ID, and then we'll just do um, user ID of that person, right, in particular. And that's kind of what we want here. We can take it a little step further because I think one thing that's kind of nice to have is when that friend request was sent. And we usually want to do that processing on the user side for the very fact that processing through the actual server might take a little bit longer. So what we can actually do here is we can kind of just add it onto here. So we can just say timestamp, right? And then this could just be epoch time, right? So epoch time is just time from 1970 GMT, very straightforward, right? And we can just take that epoch time. So that kind of keeps it good and consistent between different time zones. So that's kind of just to kind of show like, hey, like this friend request was sent at this particular point in time. So that's that. So we have the post. So now let's kind of do the delete friends, right? So we have the delete, very straightforward as well. Friends, remove friend, very similar. Vector is going to probably be the same here. I don't think there's really a necessity to have a timestamp in this case. So we're just going to do friend ID, user ID, and then we'll do this. And then that's the delete friend. And then now let's get into we have the add friend there. We have the delete. So mutual friends is going to be a little bit trickier. So that's kind of we'll do a high level design for that. But the base thing we want to kind of send here is for mutual friends. What we're going to actually do is we're just going to do a simple pull, and we'll actually have like a backend process that handles it. So this will be more so a get, and then friends. I would say get mutuals, right? And then I wouldn't pass. I actually wouldn't pass anything on here because the requirement for getting mutuals is more so mutuals in between your friends. So you kind of have a relationship in that graph. So in this case, I wouldn't. This would honestly just be like sort of blank. But the thing is, we'll just pass in the
So
header of the
just be,
session
I'm gonna be
token.
clear about the get mutual functionality here. What's the functionality
Yeah.
that you're envisioning?
So So the get mutual friends functionality is more so that we're going to use the header itself, which is
Okay.
the header, right? And the header will have our session token, and that session token will map to our user ID. So that user ID will go towards the backend, and from that we'll query like the graph that we have of the relationship of friendships, and we're going to use that graph to pull friends that, and then so the response in this case is more so important. But for the get, we can kind of just leave that blank.
Sorry, just to
So it'll just
what
be
is returned,
so it's returned as a
and
list of
what's the
friends. So
characteristics
I would
about this
say
list of friends?
So the list of friends characteristic will mostly just be kind of IDs. We'll have IDs instead
Oh,
that are
so
returned. The
so
reason
get
why is
mutuals is
yeah.
get friends.
So get mutuals is sort of so get mutual friends. Let's just say get mutual friends. So this will get kind of get mutual friends that like hey like any of your friends are friends with this person, right? But you're
Okay.
not friends with them. The reason why we return IDs is because I want to keep it small. Because for example, well you're going to use pagination and stuff as well, right? Because let's say for example you're a power user and you have 1,000 friends, and then those 1,000 friends have 500 friends each. So now you're at a relationship where you have so many. So I want to keep that get small. So we're going to just do the ID, and we're just going to use it sort of if you have more mutuals with someone. For example, you have 85 mutuals with someone. Chances are it's more likely that you're friends with them versus someone you have one mutual with. So you want to rank them accordingly based on that get, and you want to showcase them. So we'll have another query of get friend data, or like get data for a user in particular,
Okay.
right? So and that will be based on their privacy settings and stuff, but we'll actually kind of leave that out of scope as well. So we're not going to deal with privacy settings. So let's just kind of say so get mutual friends. So this can just kind of be blank. It's gonna mostly going to focus on your session token and header, and then so we have the mutuals. We have the find friends. So the other one is the find friends. So this is going to be very similar to the get friends, but in this case we're actually going to pass in a kind of a search text, right? So we're going to say find friends. This case they're not actually your friends right now, they're users, so you can instead of saying find friend, but since we're kind of following the friend pattern, we're just going to keep this the same, right? So we're going to do get friends find friends, and we're going to do kind of just the search term, right? And then we have the search term in here. So let's just say search term, and in this case it's just going to be just some random text. It can so whatever that is. So, but mostly I would say this is kind of in your case the names were unique. So we're kind of just going to focus on name here, kind of
Mm-hmm.
simplify it a little. So it's just going to be the name. I would say it doesn't have to exactly match. So I'm actually going to make it a little bit different, so it doesn't have to be a complete one-to-one match. And if you said the names were unique, so let's say if my name is Samuel L. Jackson, I can just search Samuel L. Jackson. I'll get one response back because those names are unique. So to make it obviously easier, if we just did exact name match here and otherwise return false, so this would only return one. But in my case, I want to return multiples of matches. Like I said about Sam, you have Samuel, Sam, Samson, random name. So we want to return more than one because I believe in the use case of sometimes people don't type in their names perfectly. So that's kind of what we'd say get friends. So now we have the find friend, we have the add, we have the delete friend, and we have the mutuals. So we kind of have the APIs for our kind of functional requirements here that are all kind of what we're looking for. So now we want to I actually want to get into the high level design. While we're doing the high level design, we can kind of make the database of what the friends and users and canceled friends looks like. The canceled friends is more so just for the very fact that I just don't want people spamming. So I want to kind of just add that as a quality of life
Mm-hmm.
feature. So let's kind of get into the high level design. So in this particular place, we'll have, let's just say, we'll have our client, right? So let's kind of get into the client. So for a client, I'm just going to use this. And then, so this is our client, right? So it's a large social media, it's a platform. So your client, so in the client, we can obviously have like web, right? And then I keep them separately. I like keeping the web. So for the mostly larger social media companies, you keep your clients separate. You don't kind of keep them all the same. And then in here we'll have like mobile, right? But in the essence of everything, it'll be mostly the same. The more so I'd get into a little bit more because for web we usually we have Mac and we have Windows as our core, right? And then for Mac you have I think what do you have? I think you have Firebase for notifications, and for uh, Windows you have I think something else, or is Apple push notifications or something. But that's more so getting to like notification services of hey you send a friend request and stuff. But we're gonna kind of just get the high level design in, and then we kind of deal with sort of deep dives with that kind of later. So we have our client, and then so our client asks for a DNS, right? So we have the DNS server, the domain name server, very straightforward. In this case, it's like you bought your DNS. It's like facebook.com or something, and then so that's initially when you've never been on the site before, right? And eventually you'll get cached. So the DNS will send a response back, right? So like, hey, like this is where the server is located based on your CNAME or whatever.
Let's keep out
And then
everything that's not related to the API.
yeah, okay. So could
Yeah,
you
so we
repeat
don't care
that?
about DNS. We don't care about how the internet works. We don't care about any of that. We just want the API functionality to be nailed down. So I want components such as what
Okay,
is actually under control of what you do. So we don't need to worry about
okay,
DNS in this case, in this context.
okay. Uh, so I guess I'll just leave it there.
You
You
can
want
leave
me
it
to
there.
do it?
I won't ask anything about it anymore.
Okay, okay, okay. Okay. Makes sense. Okay. So so now we'll kind of just have so there's honestly a few different ways. So there you can have like for example now I want to get into a load balancer. You can have a load balancer before the API gateway, or you can have it after the API gateway for the application layer, or before the API gateway layer, right? I like having a load balancer on both sides for the very reason of so this is just to balance the kind of load because we're going to have a lot of users, right? So, and then obviously you have your active load balancer. The one thing I do like I've noticed a lot is a lot of people have just one load balancer. I like to have two. Let's say you have a bigger load balancer, which is an active load balancer. Because the biggest issue is if you have a load balancer before the API gateway, you have a single point of failure in your system. So, hey, if your load balancer fails, no matter how scalable your system is, if you only have one load balancer, it's your system won't work because you can't route through the API gateway because your load balancer failed. So I like to have a passive one, which is let's say a little bit smaller. It's just kind of inactive and it kind of kicks in when the active load balancer fails. And also you can make it into an entire cluster. So this is a kind of a load balancer cluster, you can just call it. So that's irrelevant.
Wait,
So now we're
what's
kind of
hold
getting
on
into
here?
the actual.
What's the purpose of this cluster?
So the purpose of this cluster is more so for a load balancer, depending on region of where you're from, right? Where you're kind of coming from, because we're going to probably have a large number of
No, sorry, no, I should be more
users. And
precise. What's
yeah,
the benefit of doing it your way instead of just using a load balancer service?
so the benefit of doing it in a cluster instead of using a load balancer service is for the very fact that usually most load balancers are single. So let's say you only have one load balancer, right? So let's say instead of this load balancer cluster, you have one load balancer, the active load balancer, that's it. What happens if this load balancer fails? And let's say this connects to an API gateway, so that's kind of
I see
next
what you
we're
mean.
gonna make.
Can you
So
clarify what you mean by most load balancers only have one? Like in this case, you're saying one basically processor, or one ingestion
yeah,
point.
so I would say yeah, so I'd say like I don't think I think a lot of
Uh
designs
huh.
that I've seen, people just draw one load balancer and they just say load balancer as in like, hey, this is a single load balancer. There's not really a depth of whether like, hey, is it like multiple load balancers? Is it a cluster? Is it an active? Is it a passive? Does it have a backup? You know what I
Can
mean?
you give an
So
example?
if you have a single
Yeah,
load,
okay. I think what you
yeah,
mean, but I just want to just clarify because I think I understand what you mean now. So this is still a load balancer, but you're
yeah,
just being a bit more explicit about what you mean by a load balancer. Okay.
yeah. So it's still a load balancer. It's just that I want a cluster because I want to have a backup. Because if you only have one
Yeah.
component and you have a fully scalable system past the load balancer, if this load balancer
Mm-hmm.
breaks, your whole system fails because you only have one load balancer, right? Because now you're not
Yep.
getting routed into the API gateway because your load balancer failed. So I'm just saying, like, hey, we have a main load balancer and we have a passive one that doesn't activate until the active one
Can
goes
you give an
down,
example of a load
right?
balancer
So
that doesn't have a passive, like a hot or
uh,
warm backup?
it's like I would say like a hot backup.
Yeah. Sorry. Can you
I,
because you said you see a lot of designs without the backup load balancer and whatnot, and I can see where you're coming from. Just want to clarify, like,
yeah.
were these like designs that you've seen being used, or just in like other mocks and stuff or other interviews?
I'd say more so
Okay,
just in
I
other
see.
box
Okay, I
languages
got
and
it.
stuff that
Okay,
I've kind
that's
of
fine.
seen. Not so in like actual real system design. You always usually have a backup
Okay,
and
I was
sometimes as
concerned
well.
because you said that
For
most
yeah,
you've seen only have one or don't have a backup. But that's
yeah,
fine.
yeah,
Okay, we can move on.
yeah. Yeah. So one thing I actually wanted to get into as well for the non-functional requirements is kind of what we kind of I skipped over as well, kind of going to the design. So kind of cap theorem, right? So in this case, we have consistency, availability, and persistent tolerance, right? So in this case, we always want to be persistent, right? But since this is a social, like this is a social media company, this is not a bank or something. We're not kind of looking for consistency, right? So let's say if you send a user request or you cancel and then like a friend request, and then it doesn't have to be like fully consistent in the fact that it doesn't have to be like availability is more so important for us rather than consistency in this case. But I would say like we want to value in this case availability a lot more than consistency, and then this more so will tie in later when we do the high level design and kind of go into it a little bit more. So that's kind of what I'll mention here. So we have
Can
the
you
load
talk
balancer
about? Can you
cluster
just
active.
explain why consistency doesn't matter?
I'd say like consistency also matters, but with cap theorem, it's more so you can pick two and it's a trade off. So in my case, since we're not really a bank, we're not dealing with
Yeah.
transactions that really matter. It's not a big deal if it's a little bit inconsistent, right? So we'll have eventual consistency anyways. So let's say you send a friend request and you actually don't want to send that friend request later,
Okay.
right? So the other person will kind of still see that friend request until like you let's say you revoke that friend request. We didn't get into the fact of revoking a friend request. Let's say that that's more so out of scope.
Sure, that's fine.
I would say like revoking friend
Yeah.
requests and stuff. But that's kind of an example of eventual consistency because you when you cancel that friend request, what we'd actually do instead is we just run the delete if someone accepted you as a friend, right? So that's just will eventually be consistent, but it's more so still available. You can kind of still see your friends, you
Got
can
it.
still see
So
everything that's going on. And another reason why is for the mutual friends, right? So let's say if we're getting mutual friends, since we're writing on something and we were super consistent, we don't want to show you the mutual friends right away, right? Because we're still writing your mutual friends. Because let's say your friend added a mutual friend, right? Let's say one of your friends added a new friend, so you have a new mutual, and we're not going to read the entire get mutual friends because of your friend adding another mutual friend. So what we're going to actually do here is we're going to wait, and we don't want to do that wait, right? It's fine to show mutual friends that someone else has friends with, even though they've deleted them now, right? So that's kind of one of the reasons I'm getting into why we're going to do availability over consistency.
got it. So you're picking availability and partition resistance over consistency.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. More so to do with get mutual friends. I'd say that's one of the biggest reasons why, because we want to have a low latency and we don't want to spend too much time pulling that. We don't want to wait because let's say, like I said, right, if you're a power user, you have 1,000 friends, and let's say they're very active users as well, and they're deleting and removing friends, and because of deleting and removing friends all the time, every time you try to get mutual friends, it's never kind of up to date every single time, right? So let's say so that's kind of why. And so now we're kind of getting into so the API gateway. So this is just API gateway, right? And so I just keep this very simple. Let's say it's an AWS managed API gateway. You can also use like Google Cloud, GCP platform as well. So whatever. And so this will kind of handle like authentication, all the other stuff. We're kind of abstract this out, right? Authentication, other things, SSL, right? And then so just kind of stuff like that. So that's kind of, and then we'll kind of just leave this here. So now we're kind of getting into the find and add friends, right? So what we'll kind of have here is let's kind of stuff a little bit. Whoa, so I'll move it. Okay, I'll leave it here for now. So now we're kind of what we're getting into is so we have the API gateway, we have authentication. So now we kind of want to get into the actual service, right? So finding, adding friends, and the stuff and that stuff. So what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna make another chain here. So we're gonna have a friend service, right? So this friend service is mostly gonna handle a lot of the finding, adding friends, right? So we're gonna add this link right here. So it's gonna handle like, hey, like the to do adding, deleting, sending friends, and so we can have another service as well here for users in terms of deleting. That's out of scope. Let's say like you want to delete a user, then you have to delete all the friends that they have so they don't exist anymore. So that's kind of we'll just have one service here with friend service. I want to keep it separate because it's obviously scalable. But the thing is, we don't really have too much
Mm-hmm.
here in terms of other services. So with the friend service, we want to have sort of obviously a DB as well, right? So let's just say we have in particular DB. You can choose like in this case, like database. So we have DB, and let's just say we choose DynamoDB or something, NoSQL or SQL. A lot of stuff nowadays can be is relatively like straight. You can do both,
Sure.
right? So you have kind of a relational database or non-relational. So you have the DB here. So this is kind of where it keeps. And now we kind of get into like our actual database stuff. So let's kind of talk about user, right? So I said we'll have users, we'll have friends, and we'll have canceled friends. So what we'll do is for users, let's say we have user ID, right? That's unique, right? And then we'll have on top user ID, we'll have various other metadata, right? And then one thing I want to also have is we have friends. And then friends would be kind of a list of friends. So this would, I think this could actually map to a foreign key of friends. So so this would be like it maps to maybe just one foreign key or a particular foreign key of friends. So that's a user ID, friends, metadata. We don't really care about what region they are or their extra information. That's fine. And then so now we have user. So let's kind of get into friends. So this is kind of more so like what a larger emphasis on. So this would kind of be like the a friends would be like let's say it maps to a user ID. Instead of this, let's say just friends instead of a list. So this maps to a user ID. So they see every user has a friend list, right? So it maps to one particular user ID, which is the user ID of their friend. So this is kind of their key that it maps to based on the user from the top, right? So then you have the user ID and you have a friend list. Friend list is just kind of an array of user IDs. So it's just like all particular user IDs that you have. You don't want to kind of keep all the information in here, but you're kind of keep as a list of friends in there, right? So maps to the user ID. And what we kind of do here is with this user ID, we query their user IDs on the user side to get their information of name and all that stuff. So in this case, we also want to have in friends, we want to have the name, right? So that's kind of what we care about in particular. And let's say we also talk about region as well. So we want to have the region. So and then we kind of move this up. So like, and make this a little bit smaller. There we go. So we have friends, user ID, friend list, and we kind of query back to the user for this, right? So that's kind of how we have friends. And then so for canceled friends, I'd say this is, so we'll have a list of canceled friends. And then, so what we'll have is friends, and then we'll actually do another thing. We'll do canceled friends. We'll kind of keep this a little bit separate. I want to keep this separately because I consider this our core entity. We'll kind of keep it, we'll obviously keep it separately. So canceled friends, in this case, we have this, and then it'll just be a user ID, and it'll be a list of user IDs of friends that you kind of canceled, right? So this is kind of what we're looking at for core entities so far to kind of get the structure of adding, deleting, get, and stuff. So we go to the friend service, we go to the DB, and that's kind of the structure that we have. So now let's kind of get into one of the first ones. We want to post, we want to do an add friend, right? So one thing we want to be really careful about here is, hey, like, what if we cancel this friend already? So it goes to the load balancer, goes to the API gateway, goes to the friend service, goes to the DB. So now it has to read that DB and be like, oh, like this is where this is. Oh, like, but what if I already sent a friend request? So what we'd actually do here instead is, so we have DynamoDB, we have the friend service, and then we're gonna have another service here, right? Which is just gonna be a cache, right? So this cache is just gonna be, let's just say it's gonna be a Redis cache, right? And what we're going to actually do here is this cache is actually going to pull from DynamoDB. And what it's actually going to pull from here is, so we're going to talk about it. So it's going to have a TTL, which is time to live. And what we're going to do is, let's say, for example, if you cancel the friend request, right? If you cancel the friend request, it's going to store the user ID, right? Of the canceled friend request, and it's going to TTL. Let's say for this sake, what we're going to do is, we're gonna set it to about a week, right? So with I think TTL is usually based off of minutes. So TTL would just be 60 minutes times 24 times 7, right? So that's gonna be our TTL, right? So this means for 1 week, and this is a lot faster, right? Because with how many, depending on with the cache for Redis, you can have throughput of 100K to 1 mil. 1 million throughput per second, which is really good if you have a really optimized algorithm in this case. So this way, what happens is if you're sending a friend request over from the friend service, and you've already canceled that, or and then someone's already canceled that friend request, it's going to look at the cache and be like, hey, like this friend request has already been canceled, so it's going to just deny that request, right, from the get-go. So it's like, hey, like this request is now denied because of this reason. So it goes to the cache, looks at that, denies that friend request,
So
right?
hold on
So
here.
we
You're
kind of
saying
have the
all canceled
yeah.
friend requests are going to be in your Redis cache
So all cancel friend requests would be my read request only
for a
for up
week.
to a week.
Okay. And this
Yeah,
is this cache
I would
only
say
for
like
storing canceled friend requests?
I would say this cache is only for storing cancel friend requests. It'll map from a user ID to a
Okay.
user
And
ID,
can you just
right?
quickly tell me
So
what the downside of, well, obviously the upside you're saying is that this is it's higher throughput than a database, right? Um, let's say for example we didn't have this cache. Let's say it did go to the database. What's the downside there? Can you explain that to me?
I'd say the downside in there is with DynamoDB will be a little bit slower, right? Because with the cache, you're kind of keeping it in memory for Redis, right? And the thing is, DynamoDB also supports a TTL as well. But let's say we use a different database,
It doesn't
I
matter.
think
We can
MongoDB or
like
something.
yeah, that's fine. That's not the question. Yeah, so yeah,
Yeah,
it makes sense. And this flow is for if someone's sending a request to a person who's already blocked them, not blocked them, who's rejected them, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, so based on that flow, I would say it's let's say it's more particularly rare how much it would be. So it's more so of a
Right.
niche
And so
flow in the fact that
yeah,
yeah,
so in this case, right? So yeah, so this is a flow where the user is sending a friend request to someone who's rejected them in the past. If there's no
yeah.
cache, what behavior does this user see?
So
If
like
there's
if
no,
there's no
say it
cache
just
in
goes to the
particular,
database directly. So there's no cache, right? What is the behavior that the user sees?
I think it's more so to do with so for the behavior that you just see is they can submit an
Yeah,
add friend.
so they
So
click
the
add
thing is
friend,
yeah,
right? And then
yeah.
what's the outcome?
So they
Yeah.
click add friend, it
Uh huh.
goes to the DB, it looks at hey like this is instead like hey like this user ID has already canceled it, right? So when they click the add friend, it goes back and it denies their friend
Yeah.
request. The thing the reason why I know we're going for availability, but the reason why I want to do the cache instead is it's faster, it's in memory. So based off of that, let's say you have the profile page, right? So you have the
Sure.
profile page, and you have kind of the add friend, right? You have the add friend. So what I want to do is because of the in-memory cache is a lot faster lookup, right? So this way, what I want to do is when they actually load that profile page, this add friend is disabled,
Okay.
right? It's just disabled. You can't click on it because I just don't want I just want the user experience to be a little bit more like kind of consistent there as well, where you kind of just can't click on it, right? I just don't want to send that request in because they've already been denied before, so it kind of keeps that clutter away, right? So add friend is not
So
clickable
okay,
in
and
general.
you're
So with the cache, it allows you to do
and
that.
so if there's no cache, so you're saying this is if there's no cache here, then what's wrong with the add friend button being disabled? Is it too slow to disable the button, or what's the argument here?
It would kind of more so depend on what kind of it like how many users we kind of have, but I would say it's more frequent like hey the latency would be a lot higher to kind of like determine whether the add friend should be enabled or disabled, right? So if the thing is I would say the argument would be that this add friend wouldn't be disabled if we didn't have the cache. We'd kind of keep the add friend enabled to click the add friend, and then we go through the entire system and check the DB. Hey, this person is already a canceled friend, the TTL is 6 days left. Cancel that friend request. So we'll just send a canceled friend request back, right? So that's kind of why. So that's kind of why I want to have the cache. So I want to keep on the user profile page itself when you click on add friend, that it just stays disabled.
Okay, okay,
So that's
okay.
kind of
We
why.
can yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
let's okay. That's fine. Let's proceed. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah. So we kind of have the cache there. So that's kind of the add friend. So that covers the epoch, the user ID, and then in the friend list, we'll kind of also have a timestamp here as well because we talked about the timestamp. So this will be like when they became friends. Or like, hey, you were friends 1 year ago, or you were friends 2 years ago. So we kind of have the timestamp here, the canceled friends. So that keeps the canceled friends. And then so user ID maps to a user ID. And then after that, we have the
Mm-hmm.
delete friend, right? So the delete friend would also kind of go through the friend service as well. We go to the DB, we're sending a friend ID and a user ID. So what we do is look up on the DB here and be like, hey, this is my user ID, this is my friend list. So we query the friend list from there. And you'd see the friend list user ID. So all you'd have to do is remove the user ID. You don't care about any extra data of their name or anything else because you're just removing the user ID, right? Because you use the user ID to query the user as a kind of a foreign key relationship. So you just kind of delete that. So that covers the case of deleting the user ID. So that should be particularly good. So now get mutual friends. So this, and then find friends as well. So for find friends, before we get to get mutual friends, which is a little bit bigger, I want to do kind of find friends here. So with find friends, what we're looking at is that the search term is the name. So this is a very basic search, right? So users can have a lot more information. Like if you search on LinkedIn and stuff, you can search by company, you can search by name. So for searching, if you're doing an exact name match, we can, in this case, we're not really writing anything. We're kind of just reading. So obviously we can just do a kind of to make this very, very simple. And let's say it was just name, we could just search on this DB in particular. Like, hey, let's search this DB, search by name and do an exact match only, right? So let's search by Sam, right? So let's say if name like Sam, and there's only unique names only, even though we have 1 billion users, there's no name that's not unique. And we can just do this. This would work fine in this scenario. That hey, we search by Sam, and that's fine, so it works. But let's say like I want to increase the scale of this a little bit more, just because. So let's say we want to search by region as well, or something else. So like I said about Sam, Samuel, and stuff. So what we'd use is we'd use a searching in particular, like Elasticsearch or something else as well.
Yep.
So let's say for example, we actually have Elasticsearch, right? So of course, this requires that when we do deletes and submits and all the other stuff, that this needs to be updated, right? Because it keeps the track of reverse indexes. So it tokenizes certain words. So let's say we can search on name, company, region, and all the other stuff. So region will be a little bit trickier. But let's just say we have Elasticsearch, and obviously this is kind of its own thing. So we'll have indexes. We'll have a reverse index, and we'll have reverse indexes on, let's say, name. We'll have it on what else would we say, region. And this isn't like region like geohash region. This is region like you type in Vancouver, you search it like that, not based on your proximity, but more so like a so name, region, kind of, and then just various other data. So whether there's data like string data, so let's just say string data rather than metadata, because we want to search the user interface level. So now the thing is, so this hash search by itself, where does this connect to? So this would actually connect to DynamoDB itself. So, so the thing is, we don't want to keep on always updating it all the time. So what we'll actually do instead is we'll have something in between. So we'll have sort of a CDC, so change data capture. So this is more so when names change. People, let's say like, this is out of scope, but let's say like someone's name changes or something else, or a user gets deleted or a user gets added, right? So we have the change data capture, which kind of goes to Elasticsearch. And this Elasticsearch goes back into the friend service, right? So you're kind of querying. We could keep this a little bit separate. I would say like for the friend service, I would keep. I think it's still fine keeping the friend service for scalability reasons, where you want to have different teams to do different things. You can kind of keep it separate. So this reverse index, name, region, string data. So that's kind of what we have here. And so this is going to have a reverse index on name region. So when we do a search, or let's say a person gets deleted, the change data capture captures that delete, tells Elasticsearch, hey, update your reverse indexes. This name doesn't exist anymore. This name has changed. So we take that into scope and account. So when we do the reverse search of the index, we get that back. And like I said, what happens here is for the Elasticsearch, when we're doing a search, we're getting back kind of a list of IDs, right? Or let's say like a list of IDs. What I would actually return here is IDs.
Okay.
So user IDs would be returned, and it can be more than one, right? So what we're going to do is we're not going to get into ranking them, right? So let's just say user IDs, and then from those returned user IDs, because like we're not dealing with privacy and stuff, we're not dealing with hidden profiles or something. So you have a list of user IDs that are returned. So what happens is now friend service queries the DB of all these user IDs. Hey, like these are the user IDs. I want to get the information. Like, you know, when you do a search on Facebook and stuff, you have kind of the image. You have the image, you have like the name, right? And you have a bunch of other things as well that kind of go into that. So, and then what we're going to do is we're going to use the ID to query more information, because for now the IDs are fine. I don't want to keep on passing in all this extra data for no reason. Like obviously the Elasticsearch is already having a reverse index on certain things, so I want to keep the data to the minimum of what we need. So that would kind of cover that case of finding friends with a search term, right? So search term name, and let's just say other stuff like region or company, like just whatever that could be. So they're tokenized and their search is pretty fast lookup, so that's really good. So now we kind of get into get mutual friends. So get mutual friends, I would say this is a complete. I would say this is a different service. I would say this because this is a little bit more trickier. So for the very fact that we kind of have a graph of relationships. So yeah, let's just say this is a mutual friend service.
Hmm.
So this, what we kind of want to use here is, so with this mutual friend service, we're gonna go a little bit trickier here. Trickier in the fact that hey, we're gonna have to use a graph because graphs are usually the best way to kind of map relationships between mutual connections and stuff. So the graphing algorithm usually works the best. So we have the mutual friend service. So what we're gonna kind of use here is we're gonna use let's just say one thing we want to use, let's just say we have like a graph. So like, and then and the thing is, what we want to do here is we want to actually connect this over from the DB. So we're gonna do, if we can draw this, we're gonna connect this over from the DB. So this is more so we want to have user information. So this is ready. But what we want to kind of do here is we want to kind of make a map. So like a graph in particular. Let's say you have a one-to-many relationship. Let's kind of draw right here. So let's say you have a user, right? You have user A, right? So user A. So the thing is, this graph is always bidirectional, right? Because we're not dealing with followers. That's out of scope. So this is always a bidirectional graph. So you have user A, you have user B, right? So they're connected to one another like this, right? And then let's say and then you have another user. Let's say you have user C, and user C is only friends with this person,
Just so you know,
right?
we've got about a couple minutes left, so let's wrap this up. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so in that case, you have user A, user B, user C, and that's why you kind of have the graphing service of, hey, they're always bidirectional. So user A doesn't know user C, but what you can do is you can go on the nodes of user A where they're not connected. So user A goes down to user B, and he has a bunch of mutuals here of like D, E, F. Where it doesn't know. So what you kind of do with the graph is you send these nodes back onto the mutual friend service. You use pagination, where you just have like page one, page two, page three. Let's say you use 10 at a time, right? So, and then obviously we can have our cutoff time. So our cutoff time, which will just be a cursor. We'll use a cursor, which is the timestamp, as our cutoff time, right? So let's just say cursor timestamp for our cutoff times. That's kind of what we do. And I mentioned regions here real quick as well. So for the regions, what we'll kind of use is we'll use because there's like more like cities like New York have more people. We can just use a quad tree. So with the quad tree, because it's really good to handle density and non-dense. So we'll have a quad tree combined with the geohash of that actual location. And then combining that together, we can kind of have an algorithm that determines it based on actual region as well. So we can use that to kind of have a better mapping service that kind of connects to that. So it'll be a geohash. So let's just say quad tree, let's geohash. So of that actual. So we're kind of combine them together to kind of have a service of, hey, like region. So we kind of like, hey, this person's living closer to you. They're closer on that actual region based on what your region is, and we kind of map it like that, and we display the pagination list like that, depending on that. So you kind of use that as a ranking service. So this is kind of what we're looking at in terms of a high level total design and deep dive as well. So that's kind of all I have to kind of
Hmm.
wrap it up. So
Cool.
yeah.
That sounds good to me. Let's end the mock here, and let's go through some feedback for you. But first of all, for these, I usually kind of start with asking you how you felt about the problem, how you felt you did, and where you feel like had you had more time or had you had some help for whatever reason, you would have made the biggest improvement.
Yeah. So, in my case, I would say like I kind of got lost on core entities. Core entities, I've kind of felt very confused about because I mentioned friends, 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 and I only thought about friends. So then, when I mentioned canceled friends, I was like, okay, so what exactly is like? So I got kind of confused about what kind of entities we're looking at because I just thought about friends and users, and I want to usually get 3 points for each bullet, and I still kind of got confused in non-functional as well and non-functional more so. I didn't really do back of the envelope calculations and stuff. But I assume if we scale this and had clusters for the API gateway and other things as well, this should scale pretty much pretty fine. In this case, this is very read and write heavy, so I'd say it's pretty much a mix. But I would say it's more read heavy than write heavy. So this would be I would say in particular fine. So I didn't really mention that. I found out on read, found out on
Hmm.
write. So I didn't really kind of mention that stuff either. But the thing is, we're not really dealing with the news feed. We're dealing more so with the friend list and stuff
Yep.
like that. And depending on users, we can also cache like the actual response as well. Like let's say we have a CDN in as well for static images of someone's friend, right? And then that's the CDN's based on people's location of where they are, right? Because let's say you have mutual friends, you see the same friend every time you click on mutual friends tab, right? So I feel that would be kind of redundant. Let's say
Yeah,
you have
let's just
over twenty thousand
just to keep it
mutuals. Yeah,
concise, right? So you feel like, yeah, core
yeah,
entities, non-functional requirements, right? Where do you think
yeah.
you did well?
I'd say I probably did more so well in the friend service with the cache and the DB in particular. So if we focus on the top right area with the CDC and Elasticsearch, I feel like Elasticsearch was kind of overkill in the fact that based on our actual requirements, we only need to search by name and name is unique. We don't really need Elasticsearch. We can just actually just query the DB. So this is actually an easier question and I made it more complex. And maybe because of that, we ran out of time to kind of go over in depth with the actual mutual friend service, which I think I should have spent more time on because I feel like that was the crux of the question, the more complex to solve for most candidates.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about that. But okay, um, let's go through some high-level comments first. I'll go through some specific feedback about like throughout certain points of the interview, and then I will go. I will also comment on the design itself as well, just to kind of point out what I'm thinking of when you're saying certain things, what I'm feeling are the
Yeah,
strong points, weak points of the design, etc. And of course, you can ask questions anytime, so feel free to stop me. Okay, so general comments wise, starting from the top right. Um, I'm not sure if you were nervous or not, but there was a lot of talking going on, and there wasn't enough checking in, right? The thing about this kind of style is that would work really good if you're giving off that confident kind of persona, giving off that kind of vibe. But the thing is that you have to actually be confident in design. Otherwise, it's actually, I'd say, 100% of the time worth the time to just pause for a moment, right? Let the check in with the interviewer and ask him, hey, what do you think of this proposal, right? What do you think there's any weaknesses we need to adjust before moving on, right? Something along those lines. Get buy-in from the interviewer about what's been said so far, right? And the reason I bring that up at this just right off the bat is because there's a big risk when you don't check in is that you build up more and more, not like tech debt, but you build up more and more assumptions that might not be true, right? And that was the case from the very
yeah,
beginning, where you started adding a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't necessarily required. Like, yeah, you can make an argument that, yeah, that makes sense to add because that's part of the problem. I agree with that, right? But I didn't say that was a requirement. So when you mention those things, it's good to say, hey, what do you think about these functional requirements? What do you think about these non-functional requirements? Right? Do we need a, how should we prioritize this? Right? That's something you can just ask. Right? Worst case, they
yeah,
say I can't comment on that, and you can proceed. Right? But best case, they tell you some things can be marked as a stretch goal. They can be, we cannot regard that, etc. Right? So it helps you early on, as early as possible, really, to just check in and make sure that what you're doing, like the problem you're actually solving, is the minimum viable problem, essentially. Okay, so that's the
yeah,
first thing. Because what happened here was that you bought yourself into a lot of things that like make sense but are not within scope of the interview. And I'll comment on that
yeah,
later. Okay, so that's kind of the high level thing. Okay, and this is the thing I'll also mention because look, I want to be helpful, right? I personally don't care about this, but I'm going to tell you right now that a lot of interviewers do. And what I'm saying is talking over the interviewer. Okay, I don't care because hey, if you have something good to say, I'm gonna let you finish. Some interviewers, they won't insta fail you on that one, but they'll be like, okay, if you're gonna talk over me, it better be good, because otherwise that's like disrespectful, right? So just be aware of that,
yeah,
right? Just be aware of that. Some interviewers, they'll be like, oh, is this a one-off thing? They're just trying to get their thought out, or is this a pattern, right? Because again, right, keep in mind that when interviewers mark these kind of things, of course, the technical requirements is one thing, but also every interview, even the non-behavioral ones, do have behavioral aspects, right? And so, like
yeah,
the ultimate question that's asked to every interviewer is, do you want to work with this person, right? So just keep that in the back of your head whenever you're kind of interacting with the interviewer. Okay. Okay, so that's kind of the high level stuff. Now I want to get through some more details. Right. So the first thing I want to talk about, this is near this beginning. I didn't have a timestamp for this one, but you can watch this back later in the replay. Non-functional
yeah,
requirements, latency. So you said fast latency for finding mutual friends. Okay, it makes sense. Um, that so okay, so yeah, okay, that's good. Like what you written is good, but what you said was you also said, you also said some hard numbers. So for example, I think the wording you said was, we don't want to like open the mutual friends page and have them wait for 30, if wait, no, wait for 2 to 3 minutes, right? Um,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that's probably just an expression, but there were a couple times where you said some hard numbers that weren't really justified, right? Now, most of the time that won't really matter, but in this case, it does matter because that's your first non-functional requirement, right? So at this level
Yeah.
of system design, we're generally looking at trying to implement all the functional requirements and at least one of the non-functional requirements. Like you can justify that your system fits the first non-functional requirement, right? So okay, you commit to a hard number, make it fast, don't make it 3 minutes. Obviously, that's ridiculous, right? But if you don't actually have numbers to kind of quantify that, I would say in general, don't say hard numbers. Just keep it abstract, keep it qualitative. Okay.
Okay.
Don't I touched on this earlier. Don't make up non-functional requirements for yourself, or mark them as stretch goals. So, for example, hard party in a region. Yeah, that obviously makes sense in terms of Facebook, dude. In terms of a system design interview, that's good to think about, and you can like write it down here. But just say, oh, I'm thinking about this as like a stretch goal. Maybe we can, check back on it later. Um, for example, if you're putting this thing second, and I know this isn't necessarily like explicitly ranked, right? But this is the order you thought of the points in. So this is the order the interviewer would judge you in, right? So you put latency first, okay,
Yeah.
sure. Region priority for a second, which is like that's kind of a functional requirement to be honest, but like whatever, that's fine. And then you talked about and a non-repeating, yeah. So like non-repeating friend request is sort of like whatever, yeah, sure. And then the cap theorem, right? So okay, in this case, the interviewer's gonna go like, okay, so I'm gonna focus on latency. We'll see if they can get good latency, which is good, and everything else is sort of like not really relevant, right? Like these things aren't really relevant for the original problem proposals proposed by the interviewer. So if you want to go for these non-functional requirements, it's way better for you to just check and ask. Like, do you think these are reasonable? Do you think we should disregard them for the first pass of the problem, right? Because otherwise, like you said, right, you're gonna risk running out of time if you don't know what to prioritize. Because for example, right, keep in mind from the interviewer perspective, if I'm told going to an interview to judge you based on, let's say, your ability to design low latency systems, sure, for example, right, I don't really care what your consistency is. I don't really care what the availability is. Well, not necessarily, right? Like I don't want you to have spent half the time solving a non-functional requirement when you haven't even implemented the mutual friends problem yet, right? So this is a risk you run by not checking in. Okay. Moving on. Quarantines is fine. Yeah, you spent a bit too much time on that. I think we're a bit confused about what was going on there with the canceled friends. It's a good catch to put, to kind of mention that, but that did cost a lot of time. I think that's a practice thing. I personally think that's a practice thing to identify the entities quickly. One more thing you can do as like an interview tip for this kind of things is you can just like you don't have to think of all the entities up front. You can just kind of put the ones down that are obvious, right? Speed through the API requirements, start sketching out the design, and then as you realize there are issues like, oh, I wish I had an index or I wish I had this, then you can add core entities or just add entities, right? So you don't have to like one time just immediately get everything right. You can kind of circle back on that later. So don't spend too much time on that if you don't need. API
Okay.
requirements, like that's all fine. I don't think you spend too much time on that at all. That's chill. One thing that was a bit weird, I will say that I will call out because this was kind of weird, is that you're adding the API, you're adding the timestamp over here to the API request, and you said at the time you want to add it to the request on the client side because processing on the server is expensive. I'm not sure.
It's more so for a delay between timestamp between server and when the sentence was is actually
Yeah,
like
yeah.
sent.
So yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
see, I can sort of see where you're coming from here, but when like that's gotta get some context, okay? Like people mark that it's incorrect
Okay.
because right, so like okay, there's a delay. What is a delay, right? Okay, let's say the delay is 10 seconds. That's a pretty bad case. 10-second delay from when the request is sent from the client to the API ingestion, right? 10-second delay. What's the worst case scenario? Your firm request is 10 seconds slower. Does anyone care? No, not really. So
No, no. So I guess the
yeah,
timestamp
so
is
that
pretty
justify
annoying
that.
in
The
that
second
case
thing is
'cause it's
that
not.
timestamps are are already part of everything. Like you don't need a timestamp in the request necessarily, right? First of all,
Yeah.
half the clients put the timestamp in the header. That's the first thing. The second thing is that every single one of these ingestions points will also have the timestamp added to the request, like
Okay.
package it, right? So that's a bit weird. That's not going to take points off for just having a timestamp, but if you justify it by saying because the server is slow or what, like that's going to be questionable. Okay, so just be aware of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, the mutual friends part was a bit unclear. I had to ask a bit about that, but you clarified it after, so that's fine. It's I think during the interview you did a good job leveraging the fact that the name is unique, so that's fine. So that's good. Yeah, that's a good thing, right? So that's a good thing. The load balancer part, I will say, it's a bit weird. Right before you talked about the gateway, the load balancer is a bit weird because it's like, okay, yeah, you're definitely true. That's not part of the problem statement. But okay, that's true. And then what made it weird after was that now you're saying this is an Amazon managed API gateway, which is cool, right? But then why isn't this an Amazon managed load balancer, which doesn't have that problem? So that was a bit weird to kind of pick like the battles there were a bit weird to pick. So if you're gonna do that, that's fine, but like that's a bit unnecessary if you're gonna use Amazon anyways. Okay, so that's a bit weird. Okay, availability over consistency is fine for this justification. I think it was a bit weird to also put in partition tolerance there when you didn't mention anything about partition tolerance. Like you're right. Pick two. Why not pick availability and consistency? You didn't mention that. So that's something which you might want to think of, or just don't mention cap in the first place, right? Like that's not going to be required from you at this level. That's not going to be marks off, but that's going to be like, I don't think he understands cap. It's basically the conclusion. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, for partition tolerance, it would just be more so kind of adding sharding and stuff like that to that.
Yes, but notice I didn't talk about sharding at all.
Kind of shard on.
So you know what I mean. So just be aware of that. Okay. Redis cache. Redis cache is a good touch, right, for minimizing latency. But this is one of those things where I pushed on because it wasn't justified in terms of latency. Like one thing you want to talk about, especially when you're talking about caches, is you want to be able to quantify how much faster or how much less latency it actually is providing, right? Why is that important? That's important for two reasons. The first reason is that, again, and the reason I was asking specifically was two reasons. First of all, is that yes, that's going to be less latency, but that difference in latency is completely irrelevant compared to the latency of the other systems, right? The example you gave is loading someone's profile page, right? You can see the add button is disabled, add friends is disabled, right? Okay, that's a good function. We didn't ask for that function, but okay, that's a good function. How much faster would the page load if you had the Redis cache? It would load 0 seconds faster. Why? Because the rest of the page still needs to go to the database, right? So there's actually no difference being saved. So that's not going to be marks off because you didn't mark cost as a non-functional requirement. But right, just keep in mind, like, yeah, it's only saving latency when you don't use anything else that's slower, right? So you got to keep that in mind. Yeah. That would be marked best case as just you wasted your time. Worst case is wrong because caches are way more expensive than databases, right? So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so speeding through this part, justified that. Sure, whatever. Yeah, a small detail here about the friends. Generally speaking, 9 times out of 10, it's much better to store a friends list as each pair being a row in the database. That's just going to be better 9 out of 10 times. Right? Because remember, remove friend right now, you have to pull the entire list and write the entire list in again. Okay? So I didn't touch like that again, right? Performance isn't necessarily a requirement there, but this is a pattern that you had to recognize, right? Pattern is
friends are better.
Yes, because that way, if you think about it, right? You can already query DynamoDB based on index equals ID, and then that will give you a list of the IDs already, right?
So would the original be the user ID of the actual person?
Yeah, so it'd be each row would be 2 columns. It'd be like 1 and 2 essentially. It's what do you call it? You call it symmetrical, right? Because there's no followers, so it doesn't matter what the columns are. But column 1 would be one friend, column 2 would be the other person in the friend pair, right?
Because it deletes it for both if we delete.
Yeah, and also because now when you add and remove friend, it's an O1 operation instead of an ON operation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When it's read heavy or even write heavy, it doesn't matter. It's a big deal. Okay. Because you're gonna have a lot of database. Okay, this is what we're at, but database contention. If you don't talk about sharding, especially, that's gonna be a big deal. Because you lock up a lot of shit with that. Anyways, that's fine. Blah blah. Good pull at the end. Elasticsearch, yeah, I agree. Unnecessary, right? This time you didn't leverage the fact that names are unique. Whatever. This is a good follow up thing, so I'll let it slide. The mutual friend thing, like honestly, didn't say much about this one. I will say, yeah, this is you're right. This is the meat of the problem. Right, you ran out of time. Time management here was a bit of an issue. However, some good things I saw. I think basically, okay, you said quad tree. Quad trees are good. The general, the higher level terminology that you want to say in this context is a geographical database, right? And you basically said it, but you didn't actually say it, right? So geographical database with IDs, user IDs or usernames, right? Doesn't matter. That would be kind of the key here. So that would have been the kind of solution, which I think it would have got there, but you didn't get there, right? That's how it works. That's how the timing is. So, but I think the idea there was good. So I think you would have solved it if you had the time. Yeah, so that's kind of high level feedback. I'll send you the notes later. Let me know if there's any questions just off the bat here about either your design or the feedback or the problem.
So I have a question about actually the load balancer
Okay.
cluster. I know it said active passive. Does that really matter that much, or can you
It
just
doesn't
say
matter.
load balancer and like it
Doesn't matter,
doesn't?
especially if you
Yeah,
say
okay,
API
gotcha.
gateway from Amazon. Just say ELB, Elastic Load Balancer from Amazon. Same difference.
Yeah,
Why that's the case? Because no one cares about that, right? Like, if you're the
yeah,
remember, right, context here. The context is that you're designing a system to do friends, right? You don't actually, like, if
yeah,
you're on that team, you don't care about load balancers. In fact, you don't care about the API gateway, right? So everything
yeah,
before what you touch, basically everything before the friend service, I don't really care about. So what I would do if I were you, or if anyone in this interview, is, and DNS is like way irrelevant, like, out there. So that's not.
yeah,
I cut that one off, and then, the reason I cut you off there was because I want you to know that this is not relevant, right?
yeah,
So everything before here. So client is good. Keep the client, right. Everything before between the client and your service, you can just basically speed through that. And then after your site, for example, after you write the API gateway, just ask them, hey, do you want me to go into more detail about these services? And they'll say no, because no one fucking cares about that. And then you move on, right? So again, right, check in with your interviewer. Ask them if they want more detail, right? If they don't want more detail about things they don't care about, right? And it's also a good signal for the interviewer, because, oh, he recognizes that this is not the meat of the problem, right? So yeah, everything before that doesn't matter.
yeah.
Cool. Anything else?
I think that's mostly it. You gave me a pretty good high level overview of everything that I need to kind of focus on before. Yeah.
Okay.
But wait, would you say in terms of leveling and stuff, how close would it be to a pass or a fail?
That, that
Or
I'd
would it be
say
in terms
I'd
of
say for
stuff?
E4 it should be closer to a pass than a fail, but it's a bit on the edge. The reason there is because time management was a major issue here, um, and
Yeah,
and I mean, the fact of the matter is, if the real interviewer had a much higher weighting on mutual friends, they might mark this as a fail, because you just didn't go into that part very much. And if they had
yeah,
specifically a follow up question to test the actual latency of mutual friends, which is, the latency is the mutual friend part, not the, not the reject friend part. Okay, like that's not the part. So if
yeah,
they're
yeah.
being asked to find your competency in reducing latency in a more complex system like a mutual friend service, they'll probably mark this as a fail. But just in general, if all the functional requirements, if all the requirements are roughly evenly weighted, they will probably be closer to a pass. That's my assessment.
Okay,
And here's the thing, right? You should be
that makes
asking,
sense.
hey, which requirement should it be? What's the rank? What's the priority? Right? You can ask that. They might not tell you, in which case you have to treat them equally, but they might tell you, in which case you can then focus, right? So, just saying.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Uh, oh no, that's
Okay.
it.
Well, yeah. Awesome. Thanks for your time. This was a good showing. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in for the resume session. We're gonna be moving on to this part right now. So let me just change the title. Resume reviews with your friend. Okay. And then let me change the messaging. I think it's this link. Resume review submission. Boom. And then I pin this. All right, everyone, go ahead. Wait, I need to add everyone first. Server events. Resume reviews on stream. And then where's my stream link? Here it is. Cool. Let me launch up. You guys can start submitting your stuff now. Bing, bang, boom. What's the date today? Today is, what is it? 11/24, right? Okay. Start. So who are the submissions today? 11/24. Start. Okay. Oh, I think there was actually a guy last time who really wanted their stuff submitted. They kind of joined late. So no, wait, who was it again? Oh, I actually don't know if they submitted or not, because they were asking in chat. Anyways, we'll start with today's, and then if they come back, they can submit again. Not a big deal. All right, let's take a look. Also, daily reminder: please anonymize everything. I don't want to get a YouTube strike again. If it's not anonymized, I will straight up not review it. All right, first one of the day. What color should I use today? Oh, maybe we should use a custom color. Oh, how's that? Let me use pink. I love pink. Pink's my favorite color. Okay, so let me read the notes. The notes for this guy was summer 2025 internship, big tech-ish. Okay. All right, let's take a look. Ottawa 26, good font, looks cute. Okay. That's 2 lines. We'll talk about that. Experience. Oh, the score. Is that the YouTube channel I saw? Oh, the casino team. Never mind. That's definitely something different. Okay. It was incoming. Wait. What are you asking? Oh, summer. Okay. We'll be developing. Sure. That's fine. That's fine. BlackBerry. Nice. DevOps. This was current, and then this is from May. Oh, okay. So that's like quite a while now. This is TA. Okay, so I see. Okay, nice. Still can't reduce our builds up to 20%, but up to 20%. Yeah, this is honestly really good honesty here, and because it fits in one line, I think this is a good one. Really fits a DevOps theme as well. I think that's strong. Integrated C, C++, unit test. If you put a slash here, I can forgive it because this might be the same thing. Port test tag website using GCC tooling to improve test visibility. Okay, that's fine. DevOps, right? Good. Develop the mechanism to skip say to each other, querying pull requests and enhance developer workflows. Wait, what is this? Develop a mechanism to skip jobs by querying pull request labels. Oh, okay. To me, this sounds like this to ship faster, to enhance developer workflows. I can imagine that too. Though. Okay, that's fine. TA, blah, blah. Okay, that's fine. Just standard TA stuff. Okay, let me see what's going on here. Lead tracker, melody map, rate my prof. Okay, I will consider dates here. Right? Generally speaking, you want dates on the projects. Full stack app, share sets of legal problems, track progress. Okay, good summary. To reduce dependency of fetching legal problems. Dockerized. I think this is an okay point, but it's unclear why Dockerization reduces API latency. That part's not justified, so I'll probably reword that if I were you. Optimize DB insertion times. Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, definitely switch this one up front. I think that's more impressive. Engineer full stack admin Spotify, REST API analyzed. Doesn't recommend new music. Okay, makes sense. K-nearest neighbors, sure. Throughput indexing. See, this one makes sense, right? Indexing, improving query times. Yeah, this one's good. Okay, central rate my prof, Carlton. Browser extension integrates into Carlton. Okay, I would put a bit more information about what integrates means. Like for example, that shows ratings. That blah blah blah. That like what does it do exactly, right? Integration's a bit broad of a term here. That's good. That's fine. Doesn't matter. Okay, this one, University Club developer. Okay, pretty good extracurricular there. That's fine. This is all fine. Okay, great. Feedback wise, I'd say a couple wording things could be improved. And I would also, if I were you, I think this is pretty good organization, pretty good formatting. But these two are a bit they're a bit too similar. Okay. So what I would do is, if you have a favorite, you might not, but if you have a favorite, let's say for example, Lead Tracker is your favorite project of the two here, right? I would put in more points here, right? Go into more depth into the problems that you were solving, and reduce the points here just to just be the summary point, for example, right? In this case, like for example, what I'm reading is that there's a lot of high level stuff that this person's fine, but there's nothing that stands out. There's nothing like that's too in depth that you were solving. There's nothing like high scale, etc. So I would kind of indicate of these problems which one you kind of went into more depth on, or if you haven't gone into more depth, you should go into more depth. Talk about something that's a bit more, a bit more involved. But I think this is a good start. Nothing wrong here. Good start. All right, moving on. Let's see. Where the hell are my tabs? Here they are. Wrong tab. Okay. Resubmitted after taking your feedback. Who is this person? Okay, I see. Yep, looks good. Let's go. Okay, so what are we looking at here? Okay, looks fine. Oh, well, wait, I forgot one more thing. Yeah, the courses here, yeah, I think you're a bit strapped for space. So I would get rid of one of the rows here. So, for example, this has got to go. Okay, honestly, I would say everything here has to go. So if you're not too attached to any of these courses, you can save two bullet points essentially, right? Save 2 bullet points here and put them over here. That's what I would do. Okay. Right. Oh, your mouse is here. Hi, how's it going? Okay, this one. Oh, I remember this guy. Okay. That's chill. Okay, that's chill. All right. Okay, that's fine. I would say, yeah, bolding is okay, but I would say there's still too much bolding, personally. I think this is okay to bold, but I would not bold this. Like React Express SQL, really? Is that really worth bolding, guys? Come on. As an example. Rails for video, what is this? That's fine. Yeah, I mean, the rest of this is fine. It's good. Yeah, that's good. Rest of this doesn't matter. Okay, let's take a look here. See, this is good to bold. This is good to bold. This is not good to bold. Don't bold that. That's relevant. But otherwise, this is fine. Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. This is, uh, yeah. I would quantify that if you can. It's a bit, right? If that's your first point and you can't justify it, it's a bit airy. Front end, that's fine. That's fine too. Couple of things to reword, reduce the bolding a bit more. I think this is really honing it in though. I think this is getting quite strong. At this point, it's worth it to just continue investing in projects, other interview prep, etc. Trying to get internship 2025. Got 2 interviews in September. Nonsense. Trying to fix up my res. Okay, let's take a look. Looks good. Okay, let's see. UBC 4.3. Yeah, I would put out of 3. I mean out of 4. Put it out of 4. No, because no one else knows what a 4.3 GPA even means in university. But that's fine. Otherwise, fine. Okay, work experience, projects, skills. Oh, co-op header, or footer. Nice. What's going on here? Let's take a look. Scikit-learn. I think it's lowercase s, but that's fine. Okay. Work experience, Dart, Flutter, PostgreSQL, Rasa. Never heard of Rasa before. Reduce query response times by 20% by building a real-time monitoring dashboard and React to track microservice performance in Grafana PostgreSQL. Okay. So first point immediately doesn't make sense. So you reduce query response times by building a monitoring dashboard. How does monitoring queries reduce response times? Right. So this is already like what is this? So this is a major issue, I would say. The first point is already giving me doubt. Improve chat service latency by 30% by chat latency by 30% reduce Dockerized container. Okay, bidirectional stream efficient communication. Yeah, this one I can believe, right? This one, gRPC, Go chat. This is good stuff for high performance. So yeah, that makes sense. That's fine. It makes sense. Late deliveries. Implementing a time-sensitive routing algorithm. Oh wait, what is this? Okay, I'm a bit confused with what this job's even doing. Late deliveries by implementing a time-sensitive routing algorithm. Yeah, this is a good point. But this seems like a completely different job than everything before. So I'm not exactly sure what this. Yeah, if I know the company, maybe it makes more sense. But to someone who doesn't know the company, this point stands out. It's not good or bad. It's just that it's very different than the other ones. But that's fine. Just be aware of that. Streamline customer interaction by integrating 94 actually. Okay, 94 sounds pretty good. I don't know if it's good or not, but it sounds pretty good. Yeah, this one, the first point just doesn't make sense. Other points are actually fine. Um, I would, yeah, I really hard to comment on the third point here because I don't know what delivery says into with everything else, but yeah, but it's a good point though, so maybe you should keep it in. But if I were you, I might put that one last, because the other three fit together pretty good, and this one doesn't fit together. All right, projects. Design computer vision application, analyze bench press, deadlift, squat technique, real time, 30 pose landmarks. Yeah, that's good. Makes sense. Oh, date, GitHub as well. Very good. Engineer data set, data points, 9% fine tuning, gradient boost, grids through CV. It makes sense. Feels like a bit of a sub point for the first one, but I'll let it slide. Enhance UX, real time feedback, lifting form, built in camera, pre recorded to Kinter. Skeleton view, enhanced joint asset. Develop a skeleton view to enhance analysis of joint movement by overlaying precise skeleton movement onto video streamed using OpenCV. Enhanced analysis of joint movement. Okay, sure. I would try to combine the points that are related to improving the computer vision together, and then maybe put this one last. So just a bit of reordering here. Okay. Create a lightweight IDE offering text PDF conversions. Define entries. Lightweight IDE. I would, if you want to put lightweight, I like this idea. I would maybe, kind of quantify what lightweight means in this case, right? Because you're saying you can render 100 plus pages in under 1 second. Which is pretty cool. That makes sense. But when I hear lightweight, I don't think of performance. I think of resource usage, right? So maybe you can quantify that using resource usage. And the reason I'm saying that, usually I'm not giving this for free, is because we're using Python here, right? Nothing wrong with Python. But when I think of Python, I don't think of light. So, just be aware of that, okay? But the points here are fine. So, typing game, multiplayer, blah, blah, looks good. 100 milliseconds to response time. Okay, that sounds fun. 100 milliseconds on the server sounds a bit. Yeah. Okay. I think considering this is 2024, you're 2026, right? This is like a sophomore, second, third year kind of project. This is actually still quite good. So I don't think there's anything to complain about here. Okay, track inventory meeting, blah blah. This is fine. I would not put this point here. I think you're a bit strapped for room, so get rid of the unit test point, right? Yeah. Overall, pretty good, but yeah, a couple glaring issues in terms of the wording, the justification on the first point here. I think that one's really needs some work. Okay. Let's go next. Trying to get, wait, who was that one? That was this guy. Okay, let's take a look. Looks fine. Looks fine. What's going on here? Okay, great. 2025 internships, all they say. Yeah, okay, summer. Okay, great. This is, okay, so that's fine. That's fine. It's okay to put in. What year are you in? 2024 already. Okay, so that's fine. You have room. Yeah, you have room. You can put this thing here. If you don't have room, get rid of it. Okay, RBC, Software International Payment Rails. Montreal, cool. Architecting, this is present. Yes, variable scope, variable scopes. For notebook. Oh, okay, I see. I definitely need a bit of expansion on this one. What does architecting mean in this case? Designing. What are you designing about it? Systems, UI, UX. Bit ambiguous here. YJ's conflict-free replicated data types in real-time collaboration React-based notebooks. React-based notebooks. Okay, I see. I see. Okay, that's a bit specific. It's a bit specific. For a notebook DSL interpreter, is this DSL React or what's going on? Is this two separate things? But that's fine, but it's a bit specific. So I would zoom out a bit if you can. Um, the reason I'm saying that is because, like, I'm not saying I don't really know. Like, most people wouldn't know what this is. I know what conflict free data types are. I don't know if this is like impressive to implement, right? This I don't know if this is impressive or not. I don't think most people will know that. So this might be a waste of a point here. Create notebooks, publishing, that's fine. On call, doesn't matter. Okay, great. Yeah, this one I say expand on what architecting means, and if you have a better point that this one to put in, that I would consider doing that, because this is a bit of a nothing burger point for most people, including myself, frankly. I don't know what the like significance of doing this is. Modernize Angular. What is this? Oh, this is RPC now. Okay. Oh, you're going back. Okay, great. Great, makes sense. Okay, Richard read this can graphical caching. Okay, sure, makes sense. Funding a Django pipeline. Load testing to Jenkins pipeline to perform nightly tests to ensure ongoing service reliability integrated. Okay, I can believe that. That's good. Taplytics, feature flag, rollout A/B testing. I like that. That's good. What is this? Between flows for Western comply with flows. Maintain flows for something to comply with. I don't know what flows means. So you might want to elaborate on that one. I don't know what doing this has anything to do with regulations, but if you can elaborate what flows are mean, like what the significance of flows are, I think this is a good point. Sure. This is coming back again. Okay, this is 2023 now. Okay. Facade adapter patterns. Okay, sure. I don't know if it's necessary to put in patterns here. Okay, that's a bit specific. But I think the overall point of the two lines, the first point, is still pretty good. So I think it's fine to put in. Optimize GitHub Actions. Percy measure build. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Single turn pattern. How's your space looking? You have space. Okay, that's put in. Extracurricular director of finance, software development. This is you're okay. That's cool. Maintaining open source initiatives with open source initiatives. Okay, that's fine. I would probably try to put in like what kind of open source stuff they are, but that's still a fine point. Okay, yeah, that's good. Presented the software development lifecycle with focus on development strategies during attendees. This is during the hackathon or what? I mean, like, this feels like a bit of a weak point, but that's fine. Projects, query-based, search, PageRank. This is definitely weak. Unproductivity classification. This is good. This one is a bit weak considering some of the other stuff you demonstrated. So you can consider getting rid of this one if that's all that is. That's fine. A whole line for that is fine, and that's a bit questionable. But you have space, so you can keep it in, right? Like, you have space, so you can keep these two in. But if you're gonna put in more points, I would say get rid of this first, get rid of that next. I would put in a point here. It's something you have something to say here, right? Put a point for RBC, and I would elaborate on what's going on here. So either that means another point, or it means making this point 2 lines and explaining what's going on here. Okay. General feedback. I should ask for people to give actual requests and not just give me some general feedback. I mean, I can sit here all day and give general feedback. That's not that useful though. Okay, University of Toronto. This is okay, senior now. Computer science specialist. What does that mean? Does that mean major? I have no idea what that means, to be honest. Okay. Okay. Oh, this is intern for. Wait, what? Wait, what? Part time? While in school? Okay. Wait, so you're. Wait, what? Is this from. Wait, are you in the US? I'm confused. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Okay. Embedded API. You are. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. But that's that. At least this is a summarization, so that's fine. Secure packet transmission, validation protocols, data encoding, checks and verification, real time. That makes sense. Dose calculation. This is like a radiation thing. Oh, dosimetry treatment. Okay, yeah. Voxel based radiation. Integrated this into this, optimizing this for this. Okay, makes sense. A bit of a rundown though. This feels like it's too much information, but honestly, that's probably because I don't know anything here. So that's probably I still understand it though, so that's fine. Refactor engine code base, reducing it by 60, reducing the code size. 20, bit of a weaker point. RBC, scalable microservice, or file management, user compliance systems, retail banking. Yeah, good first point. Build advanced files. Advanced file scenario. What is a file scenario? Okay. Pro compliance, climate information, input, enforcement protocols, prevent injection attacks, and authorize access. Okay. Integrated end-to-end application testing, behavior-driven. What is this? I've never heard of this one before. Interesting. Oh, is this integration test? Validate the performance and functionality of the client system. Design end-to-end application, validate performance. I guess so. Okay, end-to-end test are at least better than unit test, so I'll give you a check there. Leverage CI pipeline Jenkins and test. Okay, definitely can quantify this. If you're at a bank and you can accelerate development life cycles, development timelines, I think that's a big one. So, yeah. Too much bolding. I would personally say there's too much bolding here. I just noticed how much bolding there was because I'm not used to seeing blue bolts. For example, this does not need to be bolded. I have no idea what these things are. Like that does not need to be bolded unless it's like super important in industry. Okay, like this does not need to be bolded, right? Dose calculation algorithm, like that's not. Don't bold that. Okay. Some other things like TCP, IP. Okay, you know, if you're talking about networking, you can bold that. I understand, right? There's too much bolding here. Like this stuff does not need to be bolded. Okay. Documentation consultant. Sure. Doesn't matter. It's one point. I'll give it to you. Okay. Projects, clubs, UFT blueprints, website, CRM solution, agile principles. Okay. This is a bit sus. I would get rid of that, but okay. One-to-one, engineer client side web app in React, enable user to schedule all meetings by communicating with Django for data management. So you made the front end part. So you made the front end and the back end, or you just made the front end, which integrated with someone else's back end? Bit unclear there. I will clarify that if I were you. But honestly, though, this project sounds a bit weak compared to some of the other experience here. Let me see. Do you have front end experience elsewhere? That's embedded. No, you don't. What do you do here? This is back end. This is back end. Okay, never mind. So you have no front end experience. Oh, you have a bit here. Okay, if you want, you know what? This is fine to keep on, because right now there's no front end experience. So this is fine to keep on. Traffic register game MIPS assembly. What the hell? Sounds pretty cool, but Pintos. Is there extra space here for some reason? Pintos. Oh, Pint OS. Sure. This is a bit weaker as well, but that's fine. Linux, Unix. I'll put a comma there. That's fine. Yeah. Overall, I think there's a lot too much bolding. That's the first thing. Other thing, couple of things you can definitely elaborate on, and clean up. Right, too much jargon here. A lot of jargon that's really industry specific. When you get out of the industry, if you're going for general tech, those words won't matter at all. Okay, let's move on. Okay, what's this guy? Sure. Oh, high res resume. Let's go. So the comment here is first year student, no real tech work experience, trying to gain as much experience as I can via clubs and university opportunities, trying to land any summer 2025 internship. So one thing you gotta remember for internships in Canada, for applying to both Canadian and American internships, is that the summer season is the most competitive one. So yeah, it makes sense. You need a bit of help on that. Okay. This is first year? 2028. That's first year, right? Yes. Okay. First year summer 2025 is gonna be tough. I'll just tell you that off the bat. Okay, experience. So DevOps intern for this. Okay. Okay. Queen's University. Okay. This is high school? I don't know what that is. Okay, I see, I see. Software or what? Tech work. I'm assuming you mean software. Okay, so the first thing here is that this has got to go. Relevant course to get out of the way. Get the relevant course here out of the way as well. What I would do if I were you is in the extracurriculars, get rid of these things, okay, and put a sentence here saying what you actually did at First Robotics Canada. Okay, this is, or if you have coding experience, I don't know what this thing is. If you have coding experience on these two things, you can put them. You can use that as well, right? Put a sentence saying, oh, you did coding. You like what kind of coding you did. You did backend development at First Robotics Canada, or you did embedded programming at Robotics Canada, something like that. Like the rest of these things provide no value, frankly. So I need to clean. So if I were you, I would clean that up right away. Okay. Experience here. So this is present. Oh, they're both present. Okay. Facilitated seamless integration file plus. Let's see. No general policy. No adjectives unless you learn them. Automated development pipelines to enhance site reliability and performance. I would be explicit on like what pipeline this is. Is this a GitHub Actions pipeline? Is this a Jenkins pipeline? I would be explicit about this because you have the room here anyways. So be explicit. Streamline DNS management process, increase site availability for utilizing Cloudflare recommendation. Increased site availability is something you can quantify, right? So quantify how bad it was before, how much you improved it, what is it now? Efficient, see, right? Another adjective, efficient traffic redirection. What is efficient in this context? Right, like what is efficient? Like what was it before? What is it now? The adjectives here are not earned, right? Like these adjectives. Okay, design team member. Develop reinforcement learning model mitigates energy inefficiency in hospital systems through dynamic optimization. Is dynamic optimization a strategy or is it just a general umbrella term? Real-time energy usage patterns. I would again, right, quantify what's the difference. Otherwise this is good, but if there's no quantification on the improvement, this is a non-point, right? Minimizing high operation costs healthcare facilities. Yeah, these feel like the same point though. What's the difference? Hold on. So here you're using your reinforcement learning techniques. You're also using reinforcement here. So these are just the same point, but with different things. I'm a bit confused on that one. I would clean that up if I were you, because it seems like they're talking about the same thing, but different bodies. Projects Q Corner, developing online web platform. Secure authentication system. What's secure about it? JWT authentication. Okay. Dynamic front-end user experience. What's dynamic? Dynamic as in like it changes? Oh, so instead of static. Okay, I can accept that. Promotes increased volume of safe and convenient online transactions. Okay. Good point. Secure transaction processing, integrating user profiles, reviews, but wait, what? Okay, so I think so this through a secure authentication system should be moved into the second point, right? Like this is where we talk about security. The first point has nothing about security. That's fine. improved user. Yeah, so this part feels like a stretch, right? Like using JWT or whatever it is, whatever you want to do, to increase user trust. Yeah, increase it from having no authentication, I suppose, which is true. But I would say just because you have JWT doesn't result in improved user engagement. Magic Wing Quest is that a Star RPG game? Okay, this is just a game. Okay, this is fine. Under the current situation, this is gonna be hard to get. It's gonna be hard to be competitive. Okay, I would say the main thing missing here is right. This is what I say to everyone all the time. First project, or not first project, not literally the first, but one project has to be the full stack web app, right? This is your full stack web app, or this is a relatively full stack web app. This needs much more content, right? Like this needs more content about the various aspects that you made. Right? So for example, one thing you haven't touched on at all is the database. Like what's going on with the database? What's going on with the delivery? How are you developing this? What's the deployment? Right. So there's a couple major points missing on this one. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes here, but if you have those systems already set up, right, this is where you gotta put points. And if I'm looking at resume here, right, this thing probably needs at least 5 points to kind of clearly communicate that you're proficient at full stack development. That's, I'd say, the fastest way to get competitive. This guy's resume is really lacking pixels, but it has no name on it, so that's fine with me. All right. Comment, summer 2025 internship, big tech, wondering if you need to quantify more bullet points, also, and a general guide to bolding. Okay. Well, let me answer those questions first, I guess. Quantify more in bullet points. You can never quantify too much in bullet points. It's literally not possible to quantify too much. There's no downside in quantifying everything you can. General guide and bolding. This is your resume, right? Let me just make sure. Yes, this is your resume. This bolding. Are these headers bolded? I can't tell if it's bolded or the font's too bad. Or the font's just making the pixels look weird because this is really low res. This is too much bolding, and I'll tell you why. It's too much bold. You should only bold things that are unique, essentially, right? You want to bold things to draw attention to those parts, right? For example, right, you're basically saying processing hundreds of thousands of rows daily, cutting runtime by 64%. This is good, right? This is good, but you're also bolding stuff like back-end development, right? Like this is not the same level of importance. It's not the same level of impressiveness, right? So something like this does not need to be bold. Like none of this needs to be bolding. Like analytics, like okay, you can. I guess this you can bold. Like this makes sense. Okay, right. Other stuff you don't want to bold. It doesn't make sense to. I would say most of the time you should err on the side of too little bolding than too much bolding, right? And that's because when someone sees a resume with too much bolding, then nothing's bolded. So you really only want to pick and choose. I'd say, high level wise, I would shoot for a resume like this. I would shoot for at most 10 words bolded in the entire resume. Okay, anyways, let's move on. Fine. Fine. Oh, Airflow user, nice. Okay, Scotiabank intern, what is this? Okay, this is, what year are you in? Okay, 26. All right, sounds good. Across distributed, so here's the thing, right? Across distributed network with Java Spring Boot. What is distributed network here, right? Like, for example, if you didn't make the distributed network, you don't need to put this in, right? Like, just because you used it across someone, like if you use like someone else's distributed network, that's cool, but that shouldn't be on your resume because you didn't build that. So this is a bit ambiguous. It's a bit ambiguous. If you're saying that you made a distributed network in Spring Boot, then you should indicate as such. With Spring Boot, sounds like you did this with Java in this. And if that's the case, then you shouldn't be building. Then you shouldn't have distributed networking at all. Develop UI used internally by 50 plus users. I monitor data to monitor data distribution services. Sure. It feels like a bit of a weak point though. Develop UI. Like what's a UI here? Like you develop a raw HTML page is also UI, right? Like what's the significance here? What was the impact of this, right? That's the kind of question that people want to ask. Like people previously were they not able to see it at all, and that they were flying blind, right? If that's the case, then that's good, right? But previously there was another one already written in TypeScript and I don't know React. Then this is minimal value if you don't actually explain what's going on here, right? So this is ambiguous here. 6 pipelines from Spark to DBT. 100. This is good. Sure. Right. Keep in mind. Okay. One more thing here. Okay. Take this point for example in a vacuum. Okay. You're at Scotiabank, right? Scotiabank's got a market cap like what 50 billion. Okay. The perspective here, right, is that Scotiabank already knew who the high value clients were, right? Like there's no doubt about that. There's literally no doubt about that. Right, so I would rephrase this to be like, what is the added value to help more quickly identify high value clients? That's believable, right? But if you're saying this enables them to identify high value clients, that's not going to have the same impact because this is implying that there was no way to identify them beforehand, right? So you got to keep in mind like what's the perspective, what's the context. Integrated files, sure, it doesn't matter. Okay, so that's the experience. Okay, and your asking was 2025. Okay, and now let's look at the projects. Location is a service. Present. Oh, everything is present. Okay, cool. Package. Adapt products to different languages. Okay. Name. Sure, makes sense. Enable. Yeah. Okay. Implement a central API allowing users to synchronize custom translations across their microservices. Optimize synchronization by creating a diffing algorithm, reducing data set between microservices and API. Implemented a central API allowing. Okay. What year are you in? This is 2022, 3, 4. Okay. That's fine. Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay. Central API line. This feels a bit weak, I'm not gonna lie. This feels like, I don't know, like what's going on here? Optimize synchronization by creating a diffing algorithm. I would like the first thing people want to think of is Git is a diffing algorithm. What's wrong with using Git? I would say reducing data over sending the full, like I would quantify this, right, by reducing data sent by 70%, opposed to saying the whole file and whatnot, right? So, this is one thing you're gonna have to justify a little bit because you're talking about optimization. So we want to know how much. Idea is good though. Develop course review site, UBC, Django React, secure logging system, go OAuth. Yeah, that's good. Okay. But database, I would say optimize how. What's the optimization there? If you can explain that, that's a good point. If you can't explain that, then that's just not a point. Counter-Strike, skin training bot, in-game collectibles, cabin price difference between P2P markets, training liquidity data, telltime spot, liquidity data. Okay, cool. DynamoDB database, store transaction data, improve probabilities of data analysis. I would clarify that one. I would clarify that. That's fine. Hack the North, Memora, app, journaling app. Transcribe speech into searchable, concise journal entries using LLMs. If it's just, one line, I'll take it. This is fine. Yeah, a couple of things here just to clarify, kind of rewrite a bit, because right now a lot of the justification doesn't match the work being done, and some work being done here needs to be justified. Okay, what's this? All right. This guy wrote his Discord username is I am on Discord. I know you're on Discord. Everyone here is on Discord. I need to know who you are on Discord. Well, I don't need to know, but that's what the form says. Anyways. Oh man. Where are we? We're here. Okay, we're here. First name, last name. PLSQL as a language. Okay, put this one last. Yes, yes. MVC, Hibernate, Maven, Angular, React. Okay. Postman, VS Code. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, Windsor, Masters. Oh, Masters. Okay. What is this? India. Oh, okay. What did you hear before? What's your comment? Oh, alter my resume after your feedback. Didn't put dates on projects because I feel like they haven't built anything since 4 months, so it would leave a bad impression as to I haven't been practicing my skills lately. Fair enough. Fair enough. But that should be indication for you to practice your skills, no? Okay, so I'm not commenting on that again. So, okay, so let's take a look here. Yeah, justified. Sure. CSAT's a bit questionable. I will mark this like a half check. Like, I think that's fine. That's better than nothing, but it's very like it's saying like you did work. This is basically saying you did work and people were happy. Like, yeah, obviously you were employed. If they weren't happy, you would be fired. So this is a bit of a non-point, but I guess it's something. Efficient SQL policy. You can definitely quantify efficiency, right? If you're a senior, come on, you can quantify that. Okay. React based, Angular React based front end. Like, you can have the React, like just Angular and React front end. Like, you don't need to say based. Modernize user interactions. To modernize is relative, right? So it depends on what you were using before. So if you want to say you migrated them from, like, I don't know, Java servlets onto this, yeah, okay. This is since this is, I think you can get this. I think you can get this to one line. So I would say get rid of this, right? Integrate them with React and Angular front end, right? Nice and concise. It's one line. Spearhead migration legacy code. Yeah, this is good. Optimize performance only 40%. Yeah, this is good. I will put this one first for sure. Automated test case scenarios following TDD. Blah 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 blah. Decline of bugs. I would. This is a bit hard to justify, but I think this is a pretty good point otherwise. So I'll I think it's fine. Projects. This is academic. Okay, so when are you? Oh, you're graduating this year. Okay, I see. A lot of stuff here. An online marketplace with 15 plus coding courses set available with online classroom interface. What does that mean? Online classroom interface? Is that not just like is this like it does it have like a chalkboard or something? I'm not sure what this means. This is a bit weird. Tending to a heavy video stream platform, we just stream traffic for hosting each meeting. The wording here is a bit weird. I think it's because you the word host twice, but the point is okay. The point is okay though. Orchestrated the project by leading a team of 5 adhering to agile methodology. That's a bit of a weaker point, but if you were the lead for this one, I can let it slide. Burn crypto wallets. Sure. Yeah, this is all just fine. This is fine stuff here. This is fine. Applicant tracking system, AI tool, evaluates percentages based on wait, what is this? Generate content using LLMs. Generate what content? Is just generating resumes? An AI tool evaluate percentage match between resumes against a job description. Suggest changes using NLP. Yeah, okay, that's fine. This first one is fine. Generate content. I will clarify about content. I'm not sure if this like you mean like fix a resume. If you're fixing resume, how do we measure the accuracy in this case? Like who's measuring that? This is a bit unclear. Overall, definitely improvement with the organization here. This is much clearer now. So let's see, that's still a good thing. Is that a name? No, that's not a name. That is not a name. What the hell is my thing? Okay. So I'm not sure if chat's broken or quiet, but I haven't seen any messages, which is good for me because I can just continue to focus. So what's this guy's comment? This guy's comment is catch recruiters' attention and get more interviews. Okay. So this is education. Okay, that's fine. Okay. AIML stream. Computer science honors co-op. AIML stream business minor. Relevant courses. Okay. 8 months co-internship starting winter 2025. I generally wouldn't put this here, but you're kind of tight on room as well. Okay, I'll have a look at it. Okay, comma, Objective C and COBOL. What are we doing here? 2022. Okay, geez. React Native, Keras, NumPy. Sure, this is fine. Make sure this is ranked to proficiency, by the way, because there's a lot of stuff here, and people won't believe that you're equally proficient in all of that. So just be aware of that. Okay, junior developer. This is present. This is also present. What? What's going on here? Doing two things at the same time here and school. Okay. And this is earlier this year. Okay, cool. TSQL, create tables, views, stored procedures. Okay, developer. For a contact management project. Okay. I would clarify on like what this thing is supposed to serve. Like you just made databases. I can understand that, but yeah, it feels like it's not like was there nothing before this? Like this is the first iteration, this is a greenfield project? It's a bit unclear. It's a bit unclear what existed before this. If this is new, then you should clarify that this is to build a new project. Otherwise, it's like what was going on before this, right? Develop workflows to extract, transform ETL stuff. Very nice. Okay, that's fine. Agile. To get rid of that. Tested migration data. Oh, this is migration. So you definitely want to talk about migration then, right? Talk about migration then. But I put that first. This is still a bit iffy point though. Like obviously you're gonna test a migration, right? Like obviously you're gonna test it. If you're just saying this just to say that I tested it, that's not a good point. If you tested it and made some, if you had some automation to test it or you made something else, then it could be worth putting on. Otherwise, that's not a good point. Okay, login registration, mood tracking pages, while ensuring seamless user experience across multiple platforms and devices through rigorous testing procedures and simulations. I will talk about what these procedures and simulations are. Is it RTL? Is it Selenium? Like what is this, right? Talk about that. Figma designs to Sunnyside mobile app into mobile responsive React Native components. Sure, that's fine. That's just a standard front end stuff. Collaborating agile environment. Yeah, so don't need agile again. Like if you want to put agile on one of them. Don't put agile under every point. That's really not a good use of space. C code interface of the hardware sends written data over LoRa using QNX. This is embedded stuff. Okay, yeah, makes sense. GNSS metadata, so GPS, GLONASS satellites are used. Okay, that's fine. Send data, that's fine. Okay, food bank. All right. Okay, this is cool. Classifying food. Design to store every user food submissions. React web app for you to take photos of food, send it to the model for classification. Gather nutritional information users to food items. Leaderboard ranks user the highest scores. I think that's fine. I would say, yeah, yeah. I mean, it feels fine. It's just that it lacks a bit of depth. This is sort of like a personal taste, right? So for me personally, this last point has no technical value. So I would replace it with a point that has more discussion about, like, why you chose to make a technical decision you did, right? Justify something, talk about some performance, etc. If you want to keep it more holistic, you want to, then you can keep this point on, but like just be aware that this point actually doesn't mean anything. It doesn't contribute any merit per se. It's gonna have context, but this doesn't have any information in it. Just be aware of that. CLI, what is this? Fitness classification. Administrative staff, agile environment, to the collaborators. See, another agile thing, right? Too much agile here. We don't need to say that. Utilize psych. I don't know what that is. To retrieve user data. Okay. TensorFlow, Keras, Waitress, Flask, user friendly. They quantify that, man. Can you support 24/7? Okay. High level stuff. Okay, first of all, I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop taking submissions, and then speed through the rest. There's not enough depth in this resume. That's the first thing. All surface level stuff. This one's quite cool, but I'd say, like, for example, all of this is saying I use this, I use this, I use this. There's no saying I use this to accomplish a certain thing which only that could have accomplished, right? Or in other words, there's no justification for using any particular technology, especially when it comes to your projects, when you have the flexibility to actually make that choice. That's where I would go next. So if you had made decisions based on some technical merits, I would say that in the resume. If you didn't, going forward, I would consider that when making projects and then put those in the future. All right, everyone else, I'm gonna just go with speed. There's how many more? 1, 2, there's 5 more. So I'm gonna speed through the rest. Okay. Coursework. How much space do you have? You have space. Okay. Genesys. Good. Good. Sure. You have space here, so I would say such as what? Another thing, so you can get rid of this header again if it's the same thing. So I would indent this 2 spaces, right? Indent this 2 spaces, and then you can have it that way, right? Indent this 2 spaces. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Another same. See, like, so like this point doesn't matter, or not. Like the first part here doesn't matter, right? Because you're saying it here already, so you don't need to say it again explicitly like that. It's not needed. Government Canada. Okay. Sure. I would be a bit explicit about, like, maintain what? Like, maintain availability, maintain databases, just maintain, like, it's a bit ambiguous right now. WCAG. We love WCAG. Pandemic pollution. Google. Oh, okay, let's take a look. Oh, this is cool. That's good. Forest UPenn hackathon. Yeah, that makes sense. This is pretty cool. This is fine too. Yeah. Formatting, I think, is the main thing here, right? Formatting, and then I would also say the content is pretty good, but I feel like once you combine these 2 things you had here, you could really kind of like you should start looking at things to combine, right? So for example, you can get rid of this thing here, as because you can sit here already. And then one more thing you can start looking at is figure out how you can make a theme out of it, right? So for example, one theme here you have is observability, right? Analytics, right? But this one here is also about analytics. Just figure out how you can combine these 2 points into not necessarily into one point, but saying how you can put them under the same umbrella. So improved observability, or enabled further data analysis from this and this and this group by doing these two things. So that's how you can start kind of leveraging the fact that these are the same company. Okay. A lot of room on this one. Okay, let's take a look. Engineered is not a good verb. Be more specific. From MongoDB. Reducing execution has 100%. That's good. Java heat space. Penetration limits across that. Looks good. Flow points across. Okay, that makes sense. 10 plus. Refining data searches on Splunk for a 10 plus member. Refine data logging systems. Automated end-to-end API tests, reduce manual tests. Okay, that's fine. Okay, because you have a lot of room, and because this is your only experience, it's also a year long. I would consider making subheaders here for each project that you did. Okay, like to beef up the resume a bit, you can consider doing that. And the reason I'm saying that is because this needs to occupy more of the resume. I feel like there's a lot of good information here that you cut out that you could be talking more about, because this is a whole year, so you could definitely say a little bit more here. Okay, some music app. Sure. Yeah, sure. Okay, what's this? Wait, what's your comment? Comment. New grad roles, SWE game dev. Okay, so game dev is a consideration here. Okay, so what is this? Game dev project. Is this game dev? Doesn't look like game dev. Overhaul JSON dialog framework structure hierarchy, boosting data retrieval speed by 35%. Sounds good. Bit of Amdahl's law, but sounds good. Correct in-game medical. Sure. Okay, is this your only game dev experience? Okay, I don't really review game dev resumes that much, but ones I do are this could be selection bias, of course. The ones I do generally have a lot more game focused projects on, and usually are working like either with an engine and a fully featured app or fully featured game, or without an engine and building aspects of the engine as part of the project. So that's something you can definitely consider for if you want to reach out more to the game dev side of things. Java product design player teams. This is, I'll be honest with you, this thing doesn't belong here. I would definitely spend the 3 points here and put them here for your experience. Wellness app. Yeah, average hackathon project. That's fine. Okay, so the organization here is a bit weird. I would say languages. Okay, put C# there. And then put tool, and then just put tools and put everything else there. Currently, with this kind of format, that might not be read very well by ATS. Okay, well, we have a repeat here. Take a look. Welcome back. Data analysis, right? What's the comment now? Just data analysis. Okay, quick and concise. Right, so as usual, my usual disclaimer, right? I'm not a data analyst. I can't comment on that job market very much. First thing I will say though, right? So we're still 2 pages here. We're still 2 pages here. That's up to you to decide, right? 1 or 2 pages. I'm not gonna comment on that. But what I will comment is that if you want to make it 1 page, what would I cut? Okay, I'll use the yellow for the cut. I will cut this. This is fine. I would combine these together. So you have this together, right? Combine these together, right? Databases, test, like these could be part of tools, right? Like dev tools. Put those together. Data analysis, that's fine. That's fine. So you can cut this in about half. Okay. Um, these things, by the way, you can just like you don't need to have this. Like this could just be the header. Like you could just have this as a section. This is a section. Sorry, not this one. This is like you can just have like certs, right? Certs and list here, Snowflake, this. Right? Like you don't need to have the header for this. That's not relevant in this case. One thing you can also do to save a bit of space that's not really needed is I will put right. So you have like this lineup, right? Put the date here, and put a location here, right? That way you can save up 2 lines. Okay, let's come on to the points. Makes sense. To analyze to identify potential. Well, I would say how many have you identified, right? What's the outcome? Right, this is still purely theoretical, so I want to see some content here. VMs to facilitate test execution. This can be put into the first point. Don't need adjectives. Dynamic environment, don't need that. Okay, I see. So look, the first words here don't mean anything. Okay, I would just start with implemented SQL queries for scalable logistics management, etc. Right, start here. It has great performance of 20% SQL profiling techniques. Well, see, honestly, here's the thing, right? Is that this is the same thing as before. So here you said implemented SQL queries, right? So I think if you want to keep this as 2 points, you can, but you have to put a bit more content in the second one, right? So you can put in, for example, how you discovered there was an issue, like what motivated doing this, right? And what the cost savings were. Like that's a common one you can put in. Now, obviously, this is 3 years ago now, so you might not be able to put that in. So 2 points was like, yeah, it's a bit empty, both points. I will combine this into one. One thing you would also notice is that I also noticed that this is a one, like you were here for 1 year, right? 1 year, I want to see a bit more output. So for example, I want to in this case I want to see like how many queries did you write? Like what was the total impact of your work here? Because right now, there's no difference between saying if you wrote like 5 queries versus 50, right? So there's a bit of work needed here to justify what was going on for 1 year basically. Okay, I won't read these. Let me go to the project here. Uh, is this one project? No, this is multiple projects. It's unclear what project this Git belongs to. Automated pass wait time, New York. Automated pass wait time, New York Transportation fetching data. I don't know what this is supposed to mean, but this does not really English. Automated pass wait time, New York Transportation fetching data. I don't know if it's supposed to be keywords or something, but I don't understand what this means. You got to fix that up. Pass wait, New York Transportation System Analysis. Is this the same thing? In this project, it's capital T pipeline package design. Maybe if you're a data analyst, you would understand this a bit more. But the titles don't really make sense. I'll be honest with you. Oh, okay. The second one makes sense. The first one is a bit weird. Again, right? This is a project. What is the analysis? Like you found that 30% of buses are doing something, right? There needs to be a bit of an outcome. You can't just say what you built if you're doing data analysis, right? You have to say what the outcome of it is. Right, same with this one. I think I gave this feedback last time, right? Right, I gave feedback saying like what's like yeah I appreciate the same feedback last time, which is like if you make a project about data analysis of something which is not private information, like say the outcome of the analysis, because otherwise, like no one can know if you did anything or not, right? Yeah, otherwise the naming is a bit confusing. You can consider changing it to a more catchy name, and then in the description explain what it is. So that's what I would do if I were you. All right. Let's see. Who's next? Data is the same, but products are different. Yeah, that's not clear in your resume, right? Like this is very unclear that that's the case. Okay. I don't think I need this bar here, but whatever. Are you tight on space? You're not that tight on space. Okay, this is fine then. Is that 2 spaces there? It's a bit weird. Okay. Programming languages, 68K assembly. I haven't heard of that one. Sure. ML research assistant. For how long? Okay, 1 summer. 75% accuracy, just 300 images. If this is an ML thing, it might be worth saying that this is better than the current whatever by how much percent. Because to a layman, 75% accuracy after, I don't care if it's little or less, 75% accuracy sounds very, very unimpressive. So you might want to say which is how much better than how much, right? Than whatever the thing is. But provide a, like, generally speaking, you want to provide a point of comparison. Okay, because that's for someone who doesn't really know ML. Like what am I supposed to say to this? 75% accuracy? I don't know, man. Okay, hold on. The comment is what? I turned on a first partnership summer 2025, second year product data science ML. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, relevancy of products. Got you. Okay, I'll have a look. Yeah. Benchmarking is good. Doesn't matter. Okay. Projects. Okay. Optimize back and generate develop schedules from possible combinations. Oh, courses. Okay. Yeah, good. Full stack web app. Oh, Flask web app. Python. Just Python anywhere. Sure. Selenium here for scraping data. Okay, this is a midpoint. That's fine to indicate that, but yeah, it doesn't fit the rest of the theme very well, but that's fine. Okay. Form question answering our LLM. Using the Google Colab. Okay, sure. I would say to do what? To do something. Because right now it's like you train this thing, but that doesn't just training model by itself doesn't do anything, right? You have to use it for something. Develop Python script, scrape over form, calculate highest quality text for form training. Yeah, so this is purely an ML project. This provides no value to like Senge. Compared to something like this, right? Pixel Perfect Game, 2D side scroller, Java, 2D. Innovatively, is that a word? Solve challenges by implementing a memory optimization system for better game performance. Quantify that. If you can quantify it, it's okay to put on. If you can't quantify it, then it's not that relevant. Java graphics 2D. Oh my goodness, I haven't heard that one in a long time. Yeah, for example, like if you look at it, this point doesn't provide any information to me, right? Like from this, I understand you know how to use Java, but it doesn't say much about it because there's no. This doesn't indicate to me the complexity of Java that you were using. This doesn't tell me the size of the project, right? If you don't have a link here, I don't think there's a link, but there's no link here. I don't know the scope, right? There's no information here for me to go off of. Canon classifier in C. Distance functions, right? Like this is okay as a project, but this isn't saying like this doesn't indicate any software skill, frankly, right? So if your comment is you're trying to, are your products relevant, they're more relevant for ML than for Senge, right? So if you want to do Senge, then you got to get some more full stack projects. Like something like this is okay, but for example, this doesn't say much about the front end or anything at all, really. Like HTML, CSS front end, right? Like there's no front end, like there's no like front end framework being used here. So full stack web app, always full stack web app, guys. All right, how many more are there? Jesus Christ. Okay, there's one more. Last one. Want to land internship 2025. Wait, what? Want to land internship 2025 summer. Any position. At least position myself in a good position for 2026. I feel like I'm a step behind everyone else in the field. Feeling stuck with regards to projects. Okay. What year are you in? Second year. Honors CET, computing science AI option. Interesting. Okay. Mock social media app, Python SQL, distributed managing operating database. What's going on here? Okay, hold on a second. Targeting what? Just land a internship. Okay. Okay, I see. Okay. Feeling behind with projects. Okay, let's take a look at the projects. All right, so okay, so this, wait, what? So this first point doesn't really make sense. You developed in Python. Develop what in Python? The entire thing? Designed in two distinct approaches, SQLite, Mongo. Why? Right? Like, no, there's no justification here for that. CRUD. Right, CRUD. Okay, CRUD is good. We don't need to explain what CRUD is, guys. How is it optimized? Key user-centric functionalities for social media applications, such as logging in, posting, reposting, commenting, following. There is no comment on the front end. What is a front end? I don't see any front end here. Do you? I don't see anything. Yeah. Prevented SQL injections by implementing paradigms and query search for. Yeah, this is, see, like, here's the thing, right? Like, this level of detail is not relevant for the resume. Like this is assumed, right? Like, it's assumed that you're following best practices. This is sort of like this should go into your first point of explaining what it is, like what features did you build. Like, you built a media app where there's like user authentication, posting, reposting, commenting, following, right? That goes into the first point. The first point doesn't say anything. Managing a database. Is this? Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly what this project is, to be honest. I'm a bit unclear. It seems like it has no front end, but it has logging in, so I'm a bit confused about that one. Yeah. Event lottery system application. Okay. Team members are applying Agile Scrum methodology, Agile application in Java, focusing on object-oriented programming, MVC model control. Yeah. So this point is kind of some things you don't need to say. Okay. You don't need to say Agile Scrum with team members. With a project, you don't, like, no one cares about Agile Scrum for projects. That's like you can do whatever you want. That doesn't matter, right? Agile application, it's going to be in Java. That's fine. You don't need to say that. You said Java here already. You don't need to say Java again, right? You can't use Objective-C for Android, okay? Like, it's obviously Java, or Kotlin, but it's probably Java. You don't need to see OOP. You have to use OOP in Java. There's no other that's the only paradigm available in Java. Okay, MVC controller architecture, that's good to put in, but you don't need to put that in if you just explain the front end. Let me see. What is the front end? Is it just Android? No framework, just Android. Yeah. So for example, if your dude needs to hit keywords, don't put MVC keyword here. Put the MVC keyword down here somewhere, right? This is a wrong place to hit keywords. This needs to say, for example, developed Android application with 4 team members to perform lottery event drawing under certain circumstances, or whatever it is, right? Like, this needs to tell you what the thing actually is, right? This is just rehashing what's already listed in the technologies here. Implemented client-oriented functionality such as interim polling system, rollback. Okay, so this could be in the first point. This could be the first point explaining the functionality and features of the app. Leverage Google Firestore start event details, change status. Sure. Okay, that makes sense. Get GitHub effective batch control. Don't even say that. UML. Don't say that. This makes sense. This makes sense. This last point makes sense. But again, right? Like we gotta be a bit more holistic here. These sort of things over here are for the skills, right? We don't need to say we use GitHub on this project. Just put Git in the skills and that, and just call it a day, right? It feels like there's too much of a mishmash between what the product is and what you did to it, and there's not enough of the actual technical accomplishments here. Applied data science, capstone, IBM data science, retrieve data set using SpaceX API, scraping, beautiful soup. Okay, sure. Sure. Okay, yeah. See, this one makes sense, but this is a data science one. Data science one. This is just a project. You can maybe say some findings that you had when performing this. Performing the analysis here. Yeah. Otherwise, I think it's fine. It's a fine project. It's just a bit data science focused, right? Wait, are you doing data science? Wait, what are you doing? No comment about data science. Just in general internships. Okay. Okay, certifications. IBM Data Science Professor IBM on Coursera. Don't like this point. You don't need to put it here because there's two reasons. First of all, is because people who are looking, like, there are very 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 few jobs whose criteria makes or breaks based on the certifications. Right, the vast majority of jobs will not care about certifications at all, and the very few that do don't need you to list out the actual skills that are during the cert. Right, so this doesn't serve a purpose really. But just in more detail, right? For example, if you're talking about this cert caused you to get knowledge about languages, libraries, and tools, that's what your skills are for, right? Like that's what these things are for, right? Like you don't need to say that thing here again. So I say in general, these points are not needed, and I would definitely prefer you to save the space here and make a project that's a full stack web app or such, or clean this one up to indicate what the front end was if there was one. Relevant coursework. You're in second year, you can put this in. I would definitely say this is 4 lines, right? This is 4 lines. That's a bit too much space for coursework. But if you have nothing better to put on, I'd say this is definitely okay for now. Right, just be thinking about when you add a new project, etc. This is what you should be getting rid of first. I say coursework first, and then certifications next. By certifications, I actually just mean like get rid of the points. You can still list a cert here, but yeah, it's too much. There's too much room for all the other stuff. Especially if it's like a Coursera cert. Like, to be honest with you, I don't think most people care about Coursera certs. Okay, skills, Python, okay, Java, C, R, okay. Lot of stuff here. Oh, that B looks a bit funny, but sure. Figma Office, yeah, that's fine. NumPy, nice. Oh, nice lowercase. See, data scientist knows how to spell it, very clean. Yeah, everything else is fine. The projects definitely need a bit of tuning in terms of wording, right? Prioritization and wording. And I would say, if you're going for general software roles, you do need to demonstrate proficiency in a web framework. Like that's the most cost effective way for you to get past more screens. Okay, those are all the resumes submitted before 3 p.m. So I'm calling it here. Went 28 minutes over time. Thanks everyone.